Wow, he's losing now. Okay, it's not over yet. Oh, rook c5, he blundered! And Robby's winning!
No way! Look at his face, he's shocked. This should heavily favor Aryan. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't win. Oh my god, commentator's curse!
Alright, and look at him go! On table down to seconds, Robby has to win.
Oh my.
No,
it'd be
e6 you take. What is e6?
Oh no!
This is over.
Wow. Hello everybody. Welcome to 2025 Collegiate Chess League. I'm your host, Jules Gambit, and I'm super happy to have with me my close friend and co-host, WGM Dina Belinkaya. How do you feel being here today, Dina?
Welcome everybody, super excited, super honored. It's been a long time. We haven't seen each other, Jules, and this is my first time at the Collegiate Chess League. So I'm very pumped for all the games, all the exciting moments. I'm here for the best chess of your life.
Exactly. I think the last time we saw each other was in Malibu, so it's going to be really exciting to catch up, to see some interesting games, and we're going to go over the match format. I know a lot of you have been here before, but for some of our newbies, this is 4 versus 4 team chess. All boards will play each other. The time control is 5+2. First to 8.5 points wins the match. As always, 1 point per win, half point per draw, and tie breaks if the score is tied. But we haven't seen that this season, or even last season. A lot of these teams are close together. Are there some that maybe you're favoring more than others, Dina?
I'm super excited to see such super strong elite teams as University of Missouri and St. Louis University. It's gonna be super excited. Of course, we also have European teams, which for me is always intriguing because, you know, you think that this is like some kind of elite North American league, but actually no, everybody is participating, and I think as a matter of fact, we actually going to look at St. Louis University versus Athens as a first matchup, and that's gonna be very, very exciting.
We're going to see both Athens and St. Louis today. At first, we have Athens versus Virginia, Slooh versus UT Rio Grande. Also, some other teams that are playing are SRM versus Yale, Mizzou versus Lviv, but we're not going to see them today. This is going to be very exciting. Virginia is known to be a bit of an underdog that's able to come and get some of these stronger teams, but Athens is also very strong, and they've been playing well so far. So I'm excited to see this matchup. I think it can be close. With teams that are close like this, do you have any preference?
Well, my main preference is not to lose all my channel points because I've been told that this is the biggest risk here when commentating for this event.
No, absolutely. That is the big risk. I lost all of my channel points last season. When we say, come on, bet in the channel, you know, use your channel points, the hosts also like to bet their channel points. And you know, I got into a habit of betting against Grandmaster Benjamin Bach, and that was not very smart because I lost a lot of my channel points. But we're going to see Athens versus Virginia. I am Demetrius Alexis versus FM Jason Moorfield. I am Caligaris versus I am McCoy. Konstantinos versus Alex Strauger. And FM Nicholas versus NM Jason Liu. So lots of Jasons on Virginia's team, and I know you weren't really with us last season, but Jason Moorfield has had some great performances. We've also seen some good stuff from the first sport of Athens there, so I'm excited to see some interesting chess. And I also know that you have your Russian chess school, so what kind of disciplined approaches are you hoping to see from the players?
Oh yeah, this is very interesting because this is online chess, right? So this is a completely different hemisphere. But some of these players seem to be way more experienced, in fact, online. Like for example, Athens here is an underdog, but some of their players, if you look at their online ratings, are actually just as good as the grandmasters on the other team. So yeah, that's gonna be I am excited for a lot of misclicks, but also a lot of swindles and flagging, of course, you know, the beauty of online chess.
Yes, this is 5+2, and we still see flagging, which is crazy, but it's very difficult when you get to this 2-second increment. It's hard to keep up this time, which I know a lot of people struggle with, something I struggle with personally too. You get a little too comfortable with this 2-second increment, and before you know it, boom, there's a blunder, and you don't have enough time to correct yourself. So that can be kind of difficult for some of these players. Also, I always love seeing the cameras here and all of their faces as well as they're getting ready. It's a different time zone. Do you think, as someone who's competed in some different time zones, do you think having it be at night is a disadvantage?
Potentially, yes. It all will depend on, their kind of fighting spirit. And of course, as it's a team event, it's gonna depend on how good of a team they can form. It's just one of those moments where you gotta stand up for your team, for your crew, and show the best of yourself, because it's now or never.
That's true. And I know you actually have a lot of experience in some of these team tournaments. What would you say is the most important part in having team unity or your individual performance?
It's definitely all for the team. Like your individual results are not as important. For instance, if you have a winning position, but you gotta secure a win of the match, then you would have to make a draw, right? So it's definitely more important than your own rating. And sometimes a lot of ego comes into the conflict. So these players have to prove themselves that they deserve to be there.
Absolutely. When you're used to chess being like a one-player sport, going into a team event can be a little bit more difficult. But by the way, chat, we are waiting for all the players to arrive, so we're gonna have a little fun. This is again one of my first times in a while seeing my really close friend Dina, so I'm really happy to be with you here today. And for you guys who don't know, back when I was an itty bitty streamer, and didn't really know anything about streaming, Dina took me under her wing and really introduced me to everything in Twitch and how to stream in the whole chess world in general. So I'm very close with Dina, and she means a lot to me and my heart. And she's done a lot of great things too. So I'm
Yeah,
happy to have you here.
I actually have this memory of exactly 2 years ago. I would bring Jules to the Bota's household and tell her, "This is a party. I have to go. I'm sorry you can't be there today, but I'm sure sometime soon you'll be invited too." And now look at Jules. She is commentating this event from the Boda's household.
Exactly. This is the Botas household. So, hey, you make your friends, you meet your people, and it's all been a lot of fun. By the way, we have the games getting started here. So, we already have some action on the board. Still waiting on that board 3, it seems, but we've got some good stuff coming up right here. Let's take a look at this position. So, already off to a strong start. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so a lot of moves have been made, and in fact, we already see an endgame. This is an endgame because we got queen swapped off the board, and this is a symmetrical position. We have this pawns d5 and d4 kind of blocking everything, and like one would think that this is a closed position, but in fact, it's a pretty open one because we got 2 open files. But it's actually a pretty simple position, right? You'd think so, but actually, no, because one of the sides is gonna be having a very strong dynamic play here, although it just seems like black is actually completely winning just because of the way how they have their pieces placed. Oh, wait a second, I'm talking a lot of strategical aspects here, but have I actually calculated the number of pieces on the board? It looks like black is just up on exchange. I think it's a game over.
It could definitely be a game over. Yes, it seems that they're up in exchange. That being said, with this kind of time control, we commentators jinx all the time where we're like, this is over. But still, I mean, these knights are tricky. Anything can happen in this game. Especially maybe if
Yeah.
that fork is hung on c7, you never know.
That fork is very dangerous. As long as the bishop is controlling the square, black is fine. But the bishop is now attacked, so yeah, indeed. And I think we're pretty much ready to see the bird's eye view of how it is going for all 4 matchups. So look at these players, they're locked in.
Absolutely, they're locked in. I love seeing these cameras. It's a lot of fun. And we seem to have some pretty wild games on the board here. I know board 4 looks to be heating up a little bit. What is that pawn doing on that second board? Oh my. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
not used to seeing a pawn
wow.
on the 7th rank like that.
And it's not just a pawn, it's a double pawn. We can take a closer look at the board too. We have this pawn on e7, attacking the queen, stopping the king from the check, but yet, ooh, that's very interesting. And it seems like they're thinking, Jules, do you see the names of the players playing? They just traded the queens.
Yes, this is Jonas Kalieris and Alex Strauger, which we've seen Alex a few times. We've also seen Kalieris. So we've seen both of these players here. And it does seem with the queens off the board, maybe those pawns are a little less dangerous. You have to find a way to keep them on. Now it almost seems not quite like a liability, but eventually it could become one because those pawns I know could be a little bit difficult to defend.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to find the game right now to bring it closer to you. I'm really curious what is going on there.
Yeah, and I know that we'll get that set up there on the preview. But as well as we look, it looks like board 1, Demetrius is just absolutely killing it. As we said, you might be right in that it was just kind of game over once you're at material like that. Off to a strong start for Athens if he's able to get that win so quickly. Also, it seems to have calmed down a little bit on that board 4. And really, the most action would be probably on that board 3 as well there with Owen McCoy versus Konstantinos. It seems to be the only game where queens are still on the board, although I know some of my strong rated commentators such as Dina here really do love these end games. And we have our first result. We see a win for Athens there on board 1. So that will be strong for them going into the next round. But yeah, it seems like we're going to take a closer look at some point at that Owen McCoy versus Konstantinos game here. So can you walk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, so this is perhaps the game that started probably the latest because we can see it's still in the opening while in fact some other games have already finished, and we have this typical Sicilian defense kind of with a open variation with a very sweet, very juicy outpost on b6. I love that square. The bishop could go there anytime, attack the queen, and it seems like white has a slight edge, but you never know. These positions are so dynamic. There are so both sides, and yeah, you just can't tell. And now h3 has been played, kind of protecting the g4 so that the knight does not attack the bishop. Potentially f4, attacking the center, control the game. And what can I say? A lot of things to still to happen here. We're at the very early stage of the game.
If you go f4, would you want to take back with the pawn or with the bishop, and why?
Potentially, most likely take with the pawn, but it would depend. The main idea would be to control the e5 so that there is no outpost for black, right? With a knight on d7 and knight on e5. Although, if white has time and black is very far away from their dream, then bishop on f4 would actually be attacking the d6, right? The weak pawn. So it would all depend on the circumstances, but that's, I would say, the main plan here.
That makes a lot of sense, and it looks like white has a lot of the ideas here, but if you're playing with the black pieces, what are you trying to do besides just holding your position together?
That's a very good question. Yeah, that's why I don't play Sicilian. Just kidding. Potentially go for d5, I would say, kind of like, yeah, bishop b7, preparing d5. The main, although computer doesn't like it, I don't know why, maybe just because bishop b6 is squeezing everything here, but yeah, some, maneuvering, maybe f5, maybe knight d7, knight c5, no, not knight c5, but just kind of, keep it together and, of course, sooner or later break the center. That's what I would say.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. And we're going to check out Birdseye as we've just gotten our second result, a draw on board 2 here. And we also had a prediction in chat. Lots of people in chat seem that Athens is going to take home the win. So we'll see. This is a strong start for Athens. It's 1.5 to half points, but still the last 2 boards have yet to show their result there, especially with the board 1 playing board 4 in Athens. In that board 4, we have that Endgame, which looks a little bit calm for now, but anything can happen. And oh wow, something we forget about, Dina, sometimes is these time differences. Look at the amount of time on Jason Moorfield's clock versus
Oh, wow.
Colossus.
Indeed, Jason is actually only 47 seconds while his opponent is a solid over 2 minutes here. And it seems like a calm endgame, though. Maybe it's all still fine because the position is a pretty under control. Although, you know, we say when the rook is on the 7th rank, you feel some nastiness. That being said, there is no pawn on the 7th rank, but it is the best way to spend your rook lifetime over there.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I heard recently something that I kind of learned about endgames is sometimes it's better to even sacrifice material or a pawn in an endgame if you're able to get your rook active. One of the worst things you can do is just try to passively defend an endgame. So we see a lot of this kind of interesting stuff, I think, in some of these endgames.
Yeah, that's actually very, very true. An active rook is worth a pawn for sure, and you can even win rook endgames if you have an active rook and a down a pawn. And here an interesting thing is that if you look at this d6 pawn, it's a nasty backwards pawn that almost doesn't exist. And now that the rooks are traded, we have bishops and all kind of the key pawns are on the dark color. But unfortunately, computer doesn't give us any chance here to have any success with white, probably because one weakness is not enough to win in chess.
That's true. And also, this is a very important game for Jason Moorfield to win or at least not lose because he's the board 1 versus the board 4 of Athens. And we already saw that Athens board 1 was able to secure the win. So if he is not able to win this, it could mean that Athens takes an early lead.
Yeah, and that's a super important. And also, by the way, isn't like, oh, actually, never mind. I thought Athens was an underdog, but it's pretty much even. Yeah, no, that anything can happen. This Owen guy, apologies for Owen versus Konstantinos. If we look at that game, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like, okay, let's take a look at Owen versus Konstantinos. It seems like this is the game where there is a certain edge for black. Isn't that, hold on a second, isn't that Sicilian game?
Oh, yeah, that was a Sicilian game where we're like, what is the plans for black here?
Wow, well, I can tell you that this position changed so much.
Yeah, it looks like all of a sudden there's a lot of targets there. Maybe you can even double up your rooks eventually. But yeah, it seems that white is playing or in a little bit more of a passive position here. And we see the rooks are doubling. Maybe there's that F2 weakness that has to keep a handle on. And here, yeah, now it's white holding together their position.
Yeah, and this is opposite colored bishops, and you can clearly see the difference between the bishop on d4 and the bishop on g2. The bishop on d4 is just a monster covering the whole board, and there are lots of pieces, like heavy pieces, 2 rooks and the queen. And you know, they say like, you think that opposite colored bishops are drawish, but that's not true when you have extra pieces like rooks and stuff like that, and especially when you have targets. So that's why pretty much this game should be won by black unless they blunder something. But again, curious if I could jinx it. Also, time control, time situation. We have only 9 seconds for black. Gotta move faster.
Wow. And that is so close. Oh my gosh. And I see Chess Dojo rated Dina's channel with a party of 450. Thank you so much, Chess Dojo. And yeah, look, that time management, it's might end up being an issue, but we'll see. A lot of these Bliss
Oh my
players are
God.
still able to hold on to the position, but wow. Oh,
The evil bar is jumping like crazy. Something's going on. I cannot tell exactly what it is. We're just gonna watch this game and get ready for a lot of drama. It's a draw? What? Excuse me? I said drama. I didn't say draw.
Get ready for a lot of drama. Draw.
Alright, let's take a look at the last game that is happening, which is another bishop endgame, but this time a same colored bishop endgame. Remember, I said not enough weaknesses to win here, so it just looks like Athens is gonna win this match, Jules.
Yeah, well, they definitely could be winning this round one, and we've seen teams come back from it, but it can be a little bit demotivating to be down like that if they aren't able to come back right away. But yeah, as we see, this is a time scramble for both sides, which is the most exciting because both people can blunder. But this does look a little drawish with your same colored bishop endgames, and yeah, I'm wondering if you any words of wisdom for maybe some of our more new chatters on same bishop endgames.
So I believe that, like, black here, oh my god, the bishop trade offer, I guess that doesn't work. So here, Jason playing, and that's a draw. Yeah, honestly, the only wisdom I would say is, it's not your fault. Blame it on the board one.
It's not your fault. It's tough sometimes.
Athens does win the match, Jules. 2.5 versus 1.5. 3 draws and 1 win for Dimitris, but what a decisive win! It brought home the victory!
Well, for round one, they have managed the victory for round one. There are still 4 rounds here, so that means Athens is going to have to hold on to their lead. Virginia will have a chance to come back. They are down by a single point, but going into round 2, they're going to try to get this back. And if they see the gap widening, it could be very, very difficult for Virginia, but as we see here, the first board was able to secure the victory for Athens, whereas the first board for Virginia was only able to get a half point. And I think that there was draws and then their fourth board lost, which is where we're getting that full point down. But round 2, Virginia's going to need to come back. This is where you try to think strategy. Do you think they're going to go a little bit more aggressive there?
Well, they should. They should, absolutely. There is no time to play games. This is a war, Jules. They must stand for their rights and defend their title of the American territory. Okay, I'm going too far.
Exactly. And as they defend their American territory here, we see round 2 lineups. So we're going to see the board 1 versus board 3. We're going to see Caliaris versus Jason Liu, Konstantinos versus Jason Moorfield, and FM Nicholas versus NM Owen McCoy. So each round we see the boards are getting closer and closer to playing their other similar boards. And I don't know, as you said, Virginia's gonna kind of need to go ham at some point. Maybe it's too early for that, but I wonder if we'll see them play more aggressively. Maybe we'll see more Sicilians, which seems like you're not really a big fan of here.
Absolutely not. Although I think you, Jules, like Sicilian, don't you?
Yes, I am a Sicilian player. I do enjoy them, but I think in Blitz, Sicilian can be a little bit difficult because you're giving your opponent so many options of how to play and what they want to play. So you're almost letting your opponent dictate everything there. Although Sicilians are very sharp, and if you know them well, I think they're a good surprise opening. But I know you're not a fan.
It's funny because we were talking about it and we're just guessing, but we did just get on the board 1 a Sicilian, and it is Dimitris versus Alex, and but the queens have just been traded. That's funny. Believe it or not, but this is Sicilian. This is a sharp opening for attacks on the both wings. Or the endgame, yeah. But no, this is interesting. Now it was the knight takes c6 and pawn takes towards the center kind of variation, and then they traded the queens, but that's also okay. That's also a Sicilian. E5 now attacking the knight. And knight e4, very nice. White is gonna try to exploit this outpost on the d6. Are they gonna... Yeah, probably. with the help of the bishop. I do love this type of Sicilian, you know, Jules, now that the queens are off the board.
I was just gonna say, is it really a Sicilian if the queens are off the board?
That's
And
a
yeah,
very
I mean,
philosophical question.
yeah, I was wondering if maybe this would be a perfect position if you had a pawn on c5 and then you were able to get your knight into d6, but you know, it's a little tough to make all of that magically happen. And here, yeah, this seems like a little bit of an odd move. Aren't you giving yourself a pawn weakness if they just take your e-pawn, or maybe there is
Yeah,
something I'm
so
missing there?
f4 was the last move, and now after trade, indeed these two pawns are gonna be doubled, so it's a bit weird, but I guess it's compensated by the strong rook and by the fact that this d7 is still a backwards pawn. So computer didn't like that move. It is logical in a way. Now black is doing what Jules have told them, might be listening, needs some extra checking the bishop to b7 with the idea of c5 and opening the bishop. Very, very good idea. And I think we are ready for the bird's eye view to take a look at the whole
Absolutely.
matchup.
And oh boy, what is happening here? What happened there on board 2? It seems like we have a early lead there by Caliaris, but we'll have to take a little bit of a closer look to see what exactly is shaken there. Just, are they up a piece? No, they're not up a piece just yet, but maybe there's a tactic on that board there. And meanwhile, yeah, all the boards seem to have a lot of action. It seems like we've only had kind of one slow queen trade. Are there any boards in particular that are kind of catching your eye?
Yeah, well, indeed, I'm very curious, just like you, about this Ioannis versus Jason on the board too. But this is one of those moments where, you know, us commentators, we see the evil bar and we're like, okay, what is going on? Trying to understand. But at the same time, there isn't anything that comes to our eye rather than there must be a tactic, but where is it? I would say though that it might be a very unlucky king situation here for black. The fact that they might not be able to castle because of the great gift. You know, the bishop h7, knight g5, and queen h7, and the checkmate. And now knight g4 happened for this reason, kind of trying to defend. But why the heck is the evil bar so winning for white? I believe that's what chat would be asking right now.
And that's what we're asking too. And it seems like there's a lot of action on the board there. But yeah, maybe not even the players fully know here. It does seem like a bit of an uncomfortable position for black here. But maybe you could take... Yeah, you have to hold on to your knight on g4, not allow it with any tactics. There's also kind of a loose knight on a5. But I guess we'll see the tactics when the players see the tactics as well.
Yeah, I would say, Jules, is just the fact that your king is not castled. And, you know, you mentioned my chess school. Indeed, that's the key. That's the key to any game. You know, if your king cannot castle, you ain't starting good the game. You know, castling the king is the key to your success.
That makes a lot of sense there. And, you know, sometimes you see some more advanced players, like some like super grandmasters not castle, and you're like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. And then you get in a position, even in classical, where you can't castle, and all of a sudden you're the one having to hold everything together. So I completely agree that castling is the key to safety there. And yeah, as we're seeing in Bird's Eye View, this is a very, very spicy round. Looks like in board 1 there might be a nice knight outpost. Well, no, not yet, because they still have those h-pawns. But board 1 seems a little bit calm for now. I'm seeing if there are any other boards that really, really are showing some action. Board 3 has some interesting stuff there. Of course, board 2, as we've been looking at, is heating up. Is there anywhere you think Virginia could take back a point?
Let's see. Virginia is actually having a slight edge on the board 3, where we have Jason versus Constantinos. It's Jason Moorfield, because we know we have two Jasons over there. But again, nothing too crazy. Oh, The evil bar is going a little bit up for white. That's what we want to see for a tight match. I see this beautiful outpost on the d5. The knight is feeling so comfy, so good. Yeah, and there are 2 knights versus a knight and the bishop. So I feel like this is like we're having a lesson on positional chess over there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And even in these fast time controls, since it does have increment, you know, this isn't that dissimilar to a rapid game. So you still have to make sure you're playing very positionally. It's not just all about tactics and tricks here in these games.
Right. And playing positionally is actually much easier when you're playing in Blitz. So sometimes you just play by intuition and there isn't much you can blunder. So it's a no-risk situation. It's something that I very much love. But unfortunately, chess nowadays, thanks to the engines, showing us that there is almost no position where you cannot complicate, and that's what black should do. And I think that's what they're actually doing right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They're just trying to get it a little complicated, complicate the position there. And yeah, I'm also looking at the game there on board 3 as well. Beautiful outpost. This is just really heating up. I think Virginia could kind of take that point. Maybe Owen McCoy is struggling there a little bit positionally. Yeah, Athens seems to be doing really, really well this round. Do you think they're going to take a higher lead? Or do you think they're going to lose a point somewhere?
So looking at the evil bar, right? We have a board 1 where white, which is Athens, having a huge advantage. Board 2, white is having advantage. So it's like 2-0. Board 3, okay, let's say black is better. So then, which is black is actually, wait, white is better. So Jason is, okay, so it could be a 2-1. And then the game number 4 is even. So right now we are indeed seeing a huge advantage on the side of the Athens. That's correct. But there is still a hope because, well, you know how it goes, especially when the commentators are trying to jinx it.
Yes, the commentators jinx is a real thing. And also, time is basically a piece on these boards. So you have to look at the time there. For example, you know, Jason Liu has 2 minutes versus, I think, 55 seconds. So even though the position is not favoring him, it looks like Caliaris is going to have to be a little bit careful there to manage that time. Since there's still so many pieces on the board, it still can be a little bit active. And it's hard in a position like this because you feel like you're completely winning and you're just looking for that knockout blow. Sometimes you just have to keep control, which he seems to be doing a pretty good job of. But yeah, if you can manage to get your opponent pretty low on time, anything could happen.
And oh my god, Jules, I'm sorry to bring it to you, but we already have a result on the board 1. We have Dimitris Alexakis, who just won his game by resignation versus Alex from Virginia. So there you go, already 1 point lead for Athens, and that's understandable, obviously, if you look at that rook on h2, rip the rook.
Yeah, and look at that. It seems Demetrius is on fire so far. Ali Strager, we're seeing some head shakes. You know, he doesn't seem very happy with what's happened there. But another point for Athens here. Still a lot going on. Also, board 2, it seems that despite a little bit of a time disadvantage, he's completely kept control. Look how sad that queen looks there on that on that last rank. It's trying to run free, but it seems like the king is a little bit insecure in its position. That rook is active, and black's pieces really have nowhere to go.
Remember, Jules, what I told you about that position from the start. You can't castle, you're doomed. And that's what happened. Look at the king on f8. Look at the queen on the a7. This is no harmony at all. And the beautiful pawn on d6, although it's a kind of a double pawn, and it seems like a weak pawn, but no black piece can actually get it. And the bishop on g3 is protecting it. So Yeah, that seems like a 2-0 for Athens, honestly. I'm sorry.
It definitely could be, but we also see that the last two boards, which are where Virginia is supposed to get their points, still have a lot going on. It seems like Jason could take this one home, but it's a little bit of a complicated endgame. He's going to have to play it precisely. It could easily be a draw if he's not careful. And then also, we kind of have an interesting position on this last board here between Owen McCoy and Kutlas. But there is a little bit of a time disadvantage for Owen McCoy there, and it seems like Black is able to take advantage of that a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully, honestly, because this is like the moment of despair. It's a second match. I know there are 4 matches, but imagine they lose 2 matches as a start, then it would be a must-win situation, and that's something very difficult to do in chess. And once again, we see even in this position, we still see the advantage of Athens on the board because we got the open file. The open file for the rooks. And even though the position looks equal, I know it's an open file. It's not a joke.
An open file definitely isn't a joke, but in Owen McCoy's favor, he has managed to stabilize the time a little bit. He had a bit of a time disadvantage, and now it seems like he's taking the lead a little bit time-wise, which could be very important in a position like this when you get down to 2-second increment.
Well, I can tell you, by the way, the 2 seconds increment in online chess is a lot. You know, with a little bit of pre-moves here and there, you can gain so much time, and usually you are not gonna flag. It's not the same as over the board where you still have to reach the clock with your hand, you know? So I would be very confident. And these players, they must be very much Title Tuesday players, you know? Maybe not Owen because he's not titled, although he's insanely high rated, 2738.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw Jules a 2738 who doesn't have a title?
It definitely happens, but it's rare. Let's take a closer look at this game as it's about to heat up and get a little bit crazy. Yeah, with this time management and a 20, yeah, that is a crazy, crazy rating for an untitled player. And a lot of times, you know, either they don't play as much over the board, or maybe he is, I guess, maybe he's not titled. That is kind of
I would say he's
crazy
probably
there.
just young, you know? He probably just haven't had chance yet.
Oh,
because
he's
this is
okay.
what we see. These kids who are, oh my god! Big win! Oh no! Bota's Gambit on the board!
Not just a
What a
Bota's Gambit, that was
beautiful
beautifully
swindle.
arranged. He had the sacrifices like a oh no, my rook moment. The queen came in, and then fork, there goes your queen. How beautiful. He is a national master, by the way, I just learned, and he has taken home that victory there. So that was a very important point for Virginia there, and some nice tactics by Owen McCoy.
That's unbelievable. Sacrificing the rook like that. Maybe we'll take a look at that game later, but now let's focus on the last and the most important match. Oh no! What's going on?
Oh, it looks like perhaps a win was blundered, but this is very, very complicated.
There
You're
was
gonna have to
this-
give.
Yeah, there was this
And now we see it.
king could stop the knight from stopping the pawn. There was
Oh.
a win. Right
But sometimes
there.
you're just looking for the draw there and you let it escape you. And, you know, we see the draw there, which solidifies the score of Athens having the lead. Although that was a great, great game by NMO and McCoy, because otherwise the lead would be almost insurmountable. But now they still have a chance to come back here with Athens 5-3. Demetrius 2 out of 2. He's been killing it. We see Giannis Caligaris 1.5 out of 2. Jason Moorfield 1 out of 2. Owen McCoy doing great, 1.5 out of 2. And we'll see how the last couple of boards do in these coming rounds. But Virginia's going to absolutely bring their A game coming into this round 3. It could be difficult, but we saw some pretty interesting games there.
Yeah, and you know, Jules, that last swindle that we just saw, maybe that was a team spirit, because Black only needed a draw to secure a win in the match, and that's why they didn't go for the kill. Remember, you asked me how team chess is different from individual, and that is how you put your own interests behind for the sake of the team. If you need to secure a win, then that's what you are for the team, that's what you are doing, and that's why we saw the draw over there in the last game. I am super impressed with the play of Athens so far. 2 decisive wins, and
absolutely. No. They've been doing amazingly. We're going to see how it comes here in the next round. We're going to go to break, so stick with us. We'll be right back for round 3. Will they be able to hold on to their lead? We shall see.
Do you want to add to your resume and earn up to $1,000 too? Chessable Research Awards are for you. Head to chessable.com/research_awards and apply today. The application is 10 questions long, and some questions are easy, like what is your name and what is your email address? Application questions also ask you to tell Chessable about a chess-themed research project that you want to begin, or about chess-themed research you're already doing. Past winners' topics include detecting chess cheaters and scuba diving in chess. Applications are due by May 15th, and winners will be announced on June 15th. If you win, you will work with a faculty member on your research, then submit a blog post about what you accomplished. So what are you waiting for? Start your application today.
Do you think you were a bad teammate in our match?
Yeah, I do think so. And I'm so sorry about it.
Yes, I wanted it on record.
That's true.
Just, patching up some old,
Do you think the chess world would be better if you were world champion?
Of course.
True.
Do you regret playing your match versus Hans?
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
Yes, true.
My work is done here.
What do you think of?
But the last question, it also raises a lot of emotions in him. Yeah.
Do you think over-the-board cheating exists in top-level chess?
I really don't think so, no.
Of course, there is some uncertainty here, but I'll give him a true on that.
You don't think? Wow, I thought you would.
There is a possibility, but I don't think that's the likelier of the outcomes now.
Did you care when your rating dropped below me? Were you bothered by it?
More by that it dropped so low than it was below you. And to be fair, even at my lowest, okay, at some point it was below you. Yes. No, but it bothered me that, of course, that it dropped so much, but no, not particularly.
Okay, so there are some things around that question that he's...
It bothers him. Basically, it bothers him. It bothers you.
I'll explain you the entire...
It's okay.
So at some point in time, it would have bothered me that I dipped below you. But now I dipped so low that the entire dip bothered me.
Basically, it bothers you that it went below my rating. It's fine. It's okay.
Whatever you want, take it. Fine.
So you asked me to rate myself on a scale of 1 to 10 as a person. How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, I think a solid 6. A solid 6.
He got really scared about getting that question.
And how would you rate me?
I think like a 9.
It's a lie for sure.
No, he's truthful.
Wow.
After the detector test, definitely. before it was like a 7, 8. Now it's just
Interesting.
Hello everyone, welcome back to 2025 CCL. I'm your host Jules Gambit. This is my co-host WGM Dina Belankaya. We have a lot of exciting rounds coming up for you, including this round 3 of Athens versus Virginia, where Athens has taken the lead here. And Dina, taking a look at these boards here, which one are you most excited to look at?
Wow, everything is so spicy. I'm actually very curious about how National Master Owen McCoy is gonna do, because he is like one of the highest rated players in this matchup, and at the same time being the kind of like a national master only, you know. In fact, I think I saw he's probably, oh yeah, that's interesting, his classical rating is very reserved, I would say, at 2,085, but his online rating is insanely good. So yeah, he's gonna be facing I am Dimitris from Athens. We can see that on the board 1, their game has already started. We can see that on the bird's eye view. What about you, Jules? What matchups are you the most excited?
No, that is definitely the one I'm looking forward to the most there. I think if anyone can take Demetrius off of his perfect scores so far, it would be NMO and McCoy. That being said, Demetrius has been playing so well. So even though he has the black pieces, I think he's definitely a favorite in that game in particular. And we also see another game here. It looks like we have an Italian there on board 3. I know Italian is one of the openings that you recommend for some newer players in your Russian chess school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. The Italian is a very solid, a very good opening where you just try to focus on building the position, you know, controlling the center, developing your minor pieces, castling. It's a very good foundation for your solid chess, which you're about to make. That being said, these players are so experienced, they are titled, they are here to fight, and you know, the better you are at something, including chess, the more rules you are breaking. So what am I about to say? The Italian is not as popular nowadays at the high level because people kind of want to have more fun, and it might be a little bit more boring, but I'm very excited to see how this is gonna go here. And moving on, we have some other boards. I think the board 3, we have another Sicilian, but this time a close Sicilian. There you go, that's my favorite, Jules. I love playing close Sicilians, you know, slow, positional, everybody has their own plans on their own side of the board, because why not?
Yeah, and you know, the only people who like playing close Sicilians are the people who actually play the close Sicilians. No one likes playing against it. It's very difficult. You have to make a lot of positional moves, and it's a good weapon against Sicilian players because they tend to be more aggressive and they like their tactics. So it's definitely a very interesting opening.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I used to play 1e4 for about, I think, 15 years, and I would never ever go to open Sicilian. I would always go to the closed Sicilian. So those are my favorites, kind of trying to build an attack over there. I did switch to 1d4 this year, but if I were to practice e4 again, closed Sicilian, my heart goes there.
Oh, well noted. Glad I never had to play a Sicilian against you then. For you guys who don't know, we played over the board. I lost, no surprise, but a lot learned in that game, as I'm sure we'll learn a lot from these games here. I'm also looking, it seems like we have some sort of hanging pawn structure too on this 4th board. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But we do have a lot of kind of interesting instructional games going on here.
Yeah, indeed, hanging pawns over the board 4 with a little bit of attack. I'm curious what was the opening as a start, because it does look extremely familiar. Maybe some King's Gambit. We'll take a look at that game later on. But so far, this pawn advancement f5 was so dubious to me at first, but now when black pushed e5, it all makes sense. First you kind of weakened, but then you counterattack the center. And now black is taking the initiative into their own hands. That's very interesting to me, Jules.
Also, what is happening on this board, too? I'm just seeing the eval swing from the corner of my eye. It's going up and down and up and down, and apparently there was a tactic, but it seems like a bit of a spicy board. So what on earth is going on in this Jason Moorfield Calieres game here in board 2?
I do love the knight on f4. We say knights on f4, f5, c4, c5 are the best positions for the knights. So black is definitely achieving something they want. And although white has a bigger center with both e4 and d4 pawns, it seems like black's pieces are actually better placed. And when the bishop comes to g4, oh, here you go. It's gonna be very dangerous for the white king. Some knight h3, knight g2, very sneaky situation. And that knight on b5, it's kind of active, but it's not doing anything.
Yeah, that is so interesting because it feels like that should be a good place to go. And you have kind of a nice sort of almost attack going on that queen side, but it doesn't matter when your king side's kind of getting slaughtered here. So what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, you gotta be careful, girl. Maybe some prophylactical bishop c4 to f1. I would consider trying to, focus on building up the foundation for those white squares. And let's take a look at this game. What's happening here? This is the very interesting French structure. I don't know why, but Jules, you have an association for me as a French player. I don't know why.
Really? Maybe it's because I hate playing against the French. I struggle with it. And honestly, French is one of those openings where you're suffering if you're playing it, you're suffering if you're playing against it. Everyone's just suffering. So I very much am anti-French. Not the people, the opening. Yeah, it's rough.
Well, here we just got a rook trade. And now white is pushing the pawns from the king, trying to create an attack. I do think that the rook trade is in black's favor, but white is still having a better position, probably due to the space and some potential outposts. And again, 2 bishops, although you think this is a close position, so knights should be better. But unfortunately, these 2 knights, just because of the lack of space, because of the e5 pawn, these 2 knights just don't have enough place to go. And we see that Konstantinos here on Athens team has a lead against Jason Slooh. And once again, this is an important matchup. Athens is already leading the score, and this is a matchup 3, so we really want to see Virginia here striking back.
Yeah, this is where Jason Slooh needs to get a point. And if I could transport one of those knights, one of those black knights, I would transport that knight to e4, but it would take way too long to reroute that. And look, that knight gets into that beautiful c5 square. It's like a war of the outposts, basically. Can you get your knight into the right outpost? And it seems like white has the advantage on that one.
Yeah, let's take a look at the bird's eye view. We have all 4 games here going on. Oh my god, Jules, what's going on in the game 4? Look at the evil bar.
Oh my, we're gonna have to take a closer look at that one. But I'm just trying to take a cursory glance of this position, and it looks like there must be a tactic on the board because it seems that the material's equal if I'm looking at it correctly, but black's king is a little bit out in the open. Unless maybe you can just take a... No, there has to be some sort of tactic on the board coming up. It just seems like all the pieces are a bit loose and the king is not very safe, but I'm sure there's got to be something else too. And look at those bishops. That bishop pair is very evil.
Those bishops are monsters. They are just controlling the whole board. And once again, black hasn't finished the development. That bishop on c8 is still not there, and there is no clear way how to get it out, because you cannot just play bishop d7. Your knight on e7 is loose. So yeah, it all comes down to the development. And one might think that c3 pawn is a weak pawn, but no, it's not, because it's controlling the central square where the knight could go. This is one of those moments. Chess is a game of lots of rules, but also exceptions to those rules, and you gotta adapt to those situations. Now, rook e1, perfect move to attack here. Yeah, how black is gonna untangle themselves?
Yeah, and you know, I know you run the Russian School of Chess. In the OG Russian School of Chess, one of the reasons they were so strong is they talked a lot about breaking these rules, which is just fascinating. So they were one of the first people to really do that in chess. But you do see that sometimes you have to deviate. It seems that these players have been playing very principled chess. That is an odd move, Rook H8 there, because I'm not sure where you're trying to put your king. You can't really bring it back into the G8 square just yet. Maybe you can try to trade off. If you can manage to trade off those bishops, then your king will be a little safer. But right now, it almost looks like there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, I was just about to say, wasn't it a misclick? But let's just take a look at the bird's eye view of all 4 boards. Something is also happening on the board 1. Look at that position. What is going on with those knights? Oh, black just won. And that is a win for Athens. Yet another win for Athens. Uh-oh. I feel Virginia is in trouble, Jules.
They might be, and remember, it's first to 8.5 points wins the match, so they're coming up on that number, and Virginia has yet to get those points back, although Jason Moorfield looks like he might be reclaiming a point there in that second board. Also, we'll see how these 3 and 4 go. Really, anything could happen there, although Alex Schrager seems to be suffering a little bit in this position, but he has more time. Although it looks like there might have been a tactic on the board that he's hung. I'm not sure if you see it right away, because I certainly don't.
Yeah, and the board 2 is actually insanely crazy. This is Jason Moorfield versus Ioannis, and what is going on over here? Oh my goodness, so many pins. The queen and the bishop. Oh, the knight has taken the bishop, but there goes rook to d6, and now rook protects the knight. The material-wise, everything is even, but well, first of all, white is up and pawn. I can state that. I can count to 7. Oh, it's actually 6. Never mind. But white is up a pawn.
Yeah, and probably defending against some sort of knight e5 tactic, whether it works or not. In a time control like this, you don't want to risk it. And now maybe eventually that e5 push could be interesting, but just not yet. And you have to be a little careful not to hang the material. Every single piece is loose here. It's really tough.
Yeah, and the queen is entering to g6. This is so worrying. I mean, it's a great news for Virginia because they have to score a point. They have to fight back. Okay, queen trade, offering a queen trade. Pretty solid move because when you're material up, you want to trade.
Yeah, but and how do you avoid that queen trade? You really can't. So it wasn't even offering a queen trade. It was kind of forcing it there. And now you're just kind of forced to play a pawn down endgame, which is not where you want to be. Although it's 13 seconds to 16 seconds, anything can happen here. You have to hold it all together.
Yeah, and these are knight endgames, right? They're very tricky. You can always blunder a fork, which would be very spicy for us, right? And maybe f4, yes, protecting the extra pawn, and now bringing the king, because this is the endgame. And then in the endgame, the king is the strongest piece. Look at that knight outpost on d6. Looks like a game over to me, honestly, after knight to d6.
That is... Oh no, my knight moment? If takes, can you just promote? Oh my, okay. There are definitely some risks here. You can't take that knight, but he has 2 seconds to think about it. Oh, that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, and he had to sacrifice the knight, and now white is definitely winning. Here you go. Oh, it's a checkmate! Whoa!
And
Beautiful.
We were too stunned to speak. That was such a beautiful game there. Jason Moorfield coming back, getting that point. And that was a must, like a very well-needed point for Virginia there. And as we see, Athens has taken a point on board 4 with Kutlas versus Schrager. And now Jason Liu is kind of where this round rests on. If Athens is able to get another point, they'll only need a draw in the final round.
Well, wait a second, Jules. This is a must-win situation for Virginia, but even if they win this game, the match is going to be 2-2. And that means that Athens is winning the matchup by 2.5.
It's first to 8.5 points. So Athens will need to get 8.5 points in order to win. The individual points go for tiebreak scores, but even if they win, it'll be really tough for them to come back and not allow Athens that extra 1.5. So it will still be tough for Virginia, but it is definitely a must-win situation, because otherwise all Athens will need is half a point in this following round.
Yeah, and now White is trying to create some sneaky... Oh no, Queen E5 check! Oh, it's a blunder! Bishop! Oh my god!
No! Oh, that is rough, and the queen goes bye-bye, and that would be a point. How heartbreaking. That would be a point there for Athens, and you see the faces. It is really, really tough here, and I mean, that means Athens only needs 0.5 points to win the match. That was a very clutch victory for Athens there.
That was such a cheap trick. And the worst part about it is that Jason Liu fell for it.
Well, when you have 2 seconds on your clock, that's why time increment is important. But it's so hard to see everything when you have 2 seconds on your clock and your heart is pounding. So Athens, they only need a draw going into this final round. And every board will be playing their consecutive board here. So we're going to have Jason Moorfield versus Demetrius Alexis, which will be interesting. The board 2s, board 3s all playing each other, as well as board 4s. So this is the final round, and they only need a draw. So if Virginia even has a shot here, they're going to need to go absolutely ham. They're going to need to play all the gambits.
4-0 is the only chance how Virginia would be able to save this. Honestly, not possible. Just take all my channel points. Athens is winning here.
Yeah, and someone in chat asked Athens, Greece. Yes, this is Athens, Greece. So, yeah, it does look like Athens will be taking home the match, but you can't speak before it happens. I feel like their strategy should be to play some very solid chess, just kind of try to force a draw on at least one of the boards, and then they're good to go.
Oh, come on. They already resigned in their heads.
You think so? You still have to fight till the very end.
You do, but you gotta, yeah, it's like one thing, anyway, let's take a look. We have a Sicilian on the board 1 as a fighting opening. Very good choice. Demetrius versus Jason Moorfield.
And we like our Sicilians here, especially, yeah, as we said, it's necessary because even though you're not a Sicilian fan, this is a fighting opening, and that's what Virginia needs right now. And if you're playing as Athens, you just need a draw, so anything really works.
Yeah. Well, long castle, so now knight takes c6. That's gonna be a very interesting game because we might see some attacks. Imagine if Athens wins 4-0. That would be a humiliation.
Well, it's also possible Virginia could come back 4-0, but it would be very, very difficult. I mean, this is definitely not the biggest score difference we've ever seen. Some of these matches end in round 3, but it's still important for tiebreak points. So even if Athens is able to win this, in order to have good tiebreak points, they need to get as many points as possible. So this is still a very important round for them.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And now there's this sneaky threat after queen g3. If black castles, then there is bishop h6 trying to create a mate. But then there would be ways to defend it with knight e8 and knight h5. But that's not a pleasant situation. I can tell you right now, here I would be gladly playing white.
Yeah, and that's what you were talking about earlier. And I saw a comment there that was highlighted that was glad after all these years our hosts can still destroy our ears. Yes, when there's a tactic, we're definitely going to scream because it's super exciting here to see some of these tactics. But I think we're going to see some very, very spicy games. So we've been seeing a lot of nice positional slow chess. Now I think is where we're going to see some of the crazy tactics.
All right. And we can take another bird's eye view on all 4 boards. here are some interesting things going on the board too, with the capture on b4. Yeah, that sounds like a fighting game.
Yeah, definitely all of these games, Virginia is going to absolutely need to go ham, although their points are also useful for tiebreak points as well. And both of these teams are ones that are going to try to get into the semifinals and out of the regular season. So tiebreak points are going to be very important for these teams as well.
Yeah, look at this game. Look at this position on the game number 2. It's between Ioannis and Owen. We were saying earlier that Owen is like a highest rated player in this whole matchup. Oh no, actually, I think he's now facing the highest rated player. Actually, never mind. Both Ioannis and Dimitris are 2800s. So that's an interesting thing. And we just saw this beautiful c3 stopping from check. The pawn on b3 is gonna fall, and the knight is heading to our favorite square jewels of today's beautiful events of this beautiful day. The knight on d6, how many times we have seen that?
Yeah, and it makes sense they were a little bit scared trying to defend the c3 square just in case, since they're also uncastled. But apparently that was a blunder.
Uh-oh. I'm just like scratching my head, or my hat, rather say, trying to find out what's the blunder? Where is it? Is it a6 but knight d6 but queen c7? But then bishop d2? No. Is it, oh, maybe it's knight c6 but then bishop d7? So still not working? Or maybe it's queen b6, pinning the knight, and then a6.
That could definitely be possible. Yeah, because I bet his spidey senses are tingling. Like, when you're a strong player and you know these tactics, you look at a position like this and you're like, there's got to be something there. And you take your time and you try to find it. So this could work either way. Either he finds the tactic that he knows is there, or, you know, he's just wasted 2 minutes and he's down 2 minutes on his clock.
F6 is definitely not necessarily the right way, but yeah, I agree. There is that sense where something is odd about this position. You just got the feeling, and then you're trying to understand what it is, but sometimes in blitz you just don't have enough time to refute this very dubious way your opponent is playing, and then you gotta be practical, and that's what Black is doing, just opening up the F file because White King hasn't castled.
Yeah, and it does seem like a very good practical choice there. So, you know, I kind of laugh because when my eye immediately goes to move and then the player plays it, it's not the best move. But yeah, that also makes sense. Rook a2 here, and now all of a sudden Black's pieces can come out, make these threats. This is so much easier to play for Black than White here.
Yeah, this is a clear example of when you are behind your development, your king is in the center, you get punished. The f2 pawn is a target, the knight is targeting both bishop on e5 somewhere, the pawn on d4 because of the pins, the knight on a6, on b5 after a6 is still in the air, and where is it gonna go? The queen is odd, the bishop is not developed, everything is odd here about White's position, and yeah, it seems like they deserve to be punished for that.
Yeah, it just seems like Black's pieces are all coming together. This is like some sort of dream French kind of situation here. And White is just trying to defend with everything they've got. And again, any sort of advantage they'd have is also squashed by the fact that they have to defend everything and they're not even fully developed yet. They can't castle out of this.
Yeah, I agree. It just honestly looks like a super sad situation. It's so sad that I almost want to suggest to look back at the bird eye view and find some more interesting, like, more positive moments over there. Speaking of positive, look at the game number 3, the rook on f6. What the heck?
Oh boy, and it looks like, look at this, Virginia is actually really bringing the heat in these boards. It seems like they have the slight advantage. Not to commentators jinx it with board 2 and board 3. Yeah, looking at board 3, Alex Schrager is really bringing the heat here. Look at that sacrifice.
Rook takes h6. Pawn takes h6. Whoa! White has sacrificed the rook! And now sacrifices another rook!
But you can't take it. You can't take it, otherwise you're getting checkmated. Or maybe you aren't, but it feels like you would be.
Computer suggests there is this very annoying check, queen to a7, and intermezzo could have been overlooked. But once again, this is a blitz game. So whenever you're under attack, even if it doesn't work, it's so freaking hard to defend against.
Yeah, but it feels like it shouldn't work. It feels like that intermezzo shouldn't be a real thing, but he finds it. Now all of a sudden the queen can come in to defend a little bit more. But I don't know, this position feels like it still should be decent for Alex Schrager if he's able to find the mate, but maybe there just isn't one.
Yeah, the question is, who is gonna attack who? Because the bank rank was also very dangerous. Like, for instance, white couldn't go to h1 because then queen e3 and then would threaten some attacks and protect the h6. And it feels like queen e3 is gonna happen anyway, but also knight e3 and then knight f5. It just seems like white doesn't have anything concrete. I'm super excited for this game. Anything can go wrong. Knight f6!
F6! He didn't see the mate either. Oh, and taking with the pawn, because I'm sure what happened is he looked at that and he was calculating the knight takes f6 lines and seeing that he's okay, perhaps, but this is... Oh. A moment of silence from our commentator.
Ew. That's what I was talking about, Jules. Your attack might not work, it might be a complete bluff, but your opponent will just not have enough time to understand what's going on, and Black has just resigned!
And that's a victory for Virginia. So again, a must-win situation for Virginia, and that's exactly what he needed to do. And look, you can see how happy Alex Schrager is here. Also, it seems like Owen McCoy is dominating on that board too, so it is all up to Jason Moorfield, Jason Liu. If they're able to 4-0, that would be the most insane comeback we've ever seen. But again, Athens only needs a draw. They just need a draw on one of these boards, and they could definitely get it.
Yeah, let's take a look at those games. I believe while we're pretty confident that Owen is gonna be winning his game, let's take a look at the board 4, I believe. Which one is it? With the queen endgame.
Yeah, Jason Liu versus Kulag, I believe that we are seeing right now, but we're going to take a second to change those names. But here, this is a little bit difficult because Athens is playing with the black pieces here. I know we're still switching up the names a little bit, but that means Virginia needs a win here. And to win in this position where black has that passed pawn, you do not, even though it's equal material, that passed pawn is so dangerous.
Yeah, honestly, I got bad news here. It just seems like the best thing that the best thing that white Virginia can have here is some perpetual with queen f6 and queen d8, but that's not gonna help Virginia.
It also seems that on board 1, Jason Moorfield has a distinct disadvantage there, and that could be pretty difficult. But yeah, we will see that coming shortly. Perhaps we should go to bird's eye view for a second and just check out these final remaining games, as again, it is just a draw that Athens needs in order to take home the victory of the match.
Yeah, only 5 seconds for Jason there versus Demetrius, and
we see
that's it. We got our winner, Jules.
Athens has taken home the full match, but props to Virginia for really kind of coming back in this round here. Almost able to get what they needed there, but unfortunately for them, and fortunately for Athens, they were able to take home the match, and that, I believe, is Athens' first victory of the spring CCL season.
And that's true. And here we have a queen endgame. This is the last game of the matchup. The board 4, we're still looking at it is important for all the tie breaks, even though we already know our winner. Let's see, the position remains equal, so as if white had a fortress, although by all theory, you guys know that queen endgames with a pass pawn should be a victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going for this perpet is the best option. But again, Jason Liu has been playing his game, so he doesn't know that the other boards have already finished and Athens has already won. So in his eyes, a draw might be as good as a loss. So we might see him trying to play it out, go for something, and just taking one for the team basically, and trying to force a win in a position where it might mean that he loses.
Yeah, I'm just like listening to you, Jules, and looking at the eval bar, just jumping back and forth. But the main question is, what is the plan? Basically, whoa, sacrificing the pawn on b3, preparing b2 with the idea of, but that's gonna be a draw. Oh no, it's gonna be a taking this pawn. Whoa, we are here for a long ride, my friend.
And he doesn't know too. He doesn't know. I think if he had known that he didn't need to go for the win anymore, this game would have been over a few moves ago. But you really see him. This is what you were talking about team spirit. You really see him trying to just force that win in this position where now it's actually physically impossible to win. So he might take the draw, because I don't think many people have really ever won a 2v3 endgame like that when they're the two side.
You could try. You know, we've seen a lot of things. I mean, it's online chess. King and the rook versus King and the rook sometimes is winning, but obviously here we got a time, we got an increment, right? So just unfortunately for black, there isn't like any way to improve other than pushing the pawns. Oh my god! What is this? Queen H1!
Oh, Queen H1!
Checkmate!
Oh, and he looks so happy. But, at the same time, that's what we were saying. When Jason Liu knows that a draw is synonymous to a loss in this round, he had to fight. And honestly, sometimes that fighting creates a loss. He had many opportunities for a draw, and he didn't take it. One for the team, but still a kind of nice tactical ending there for Athens, who has taken home the match, Dina. They've taken home the match, I believe it is 10-6 here, and Demetrius Alexis has killed it with 4 out of 4 points. Moorfield 2 out of 4. Giannis Kalieris 1.5 out of 4. Owen McCoy 2.5 out of 4 did great here. Konstantinos 2 out of 4. Alex Schrager 1.5 out of 4 with the clutch win at the end. FM Nicholas 2.5 out of 4. And NM Jason Liu 0 out of 4. And that means Athens is taking home the victory. What a first match of week 2 of CCL. What do you think,
Yeah,
Gina?
when I signed up to commentate for Collegiate Chess League, I didn't know it would be that heartbreaking. But hey, this is what I'm here for. This is the kind of action I needed.
Absolutely. Everyone, we are going to break. We're going to have another exciting matchup coming up next, so stay tuned. Pawns get zapped up into space. Pawns serving you up a cup of coffee. We don't do boring merch at Chess.com. Upgrade your closet and your home with t-shirts, mouse pads, clocks, and more. Visit go.chess.com/merch or use !merch in chat to shop. Don't go anywhere. Slooh versus UT Rio Grande is coming up.
Students, did you know that you can get a discount on any Chess.com premium membership? If you're enrolled in a college, university, or high school in a participating country, you can get 50% off any yearly or monthly premium plan, diamond, platinum, or gold. That's unlimited game review, unlimited puzzles, unlimited bots, unlimited lessons, and no ads. All at 50% off. Go to chess.com/students and get your discount today.
How happy you are with your achievements in chess? I mean, are you happy or not?
Overall, yes.
True. My second question is, do you think you're a genius?
Yes.
Yes, he does.
How probable it is that you will be back in top 3 in, let's say, next 5 years?
A bit unlikely.
True.
I'm a bit surprised. I thought you're more of an optimistic guy.
No, it's just waiting has never been like my main preoccupation. I care more about winning titles.
I can add that it causes a lot of reactions in him. He has a big desire to be much better.
No, I was happy to know that
We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere.
We're finding the core of the
I was
problem.
happy to know that I have big desires still in chess.
Do you think that blitz or rapid, with its importance, can be compared to a classical time format?
Not yet, but it should.
True, but it's like an opinion with many
Yes,
facets.
without a yes and no answer. Okay, to follow up this question, for you personally, blitz and rapid matters as much as classical chess?
No.
Lie.
Finally, getting somewhere.
He wanted to be caught. He wanted to be caught.
I got him with that question.
Yes, you did.
How afraid you are that somebody, while playing you, will be using illegal assistance?
In general, afraid. Like, not with everybody, but I'm pretty sure it has happened in the past.
True.
Hello, welcome back to the 2025 spring season of the CCL. We had an exciting first match and much more to come. Our sponsor, Susquehanna, supports gaming culture in their work environment. Their employee, Kimmy Liu, tells us about what it's like to work there.
My name is Kimberly Liu, and I'm the current president of Cornell Chess Club. I interned at SIG last summer because I noticed that their culture was very gaming-centric, and that is quite a unique take. I think SIG values the gaming aspect because you're able to make decisions under pressure. So pressure is definitely not a strange thing in chess. There's time pressure, there's pressure of spectators, so being able to just stay focused and make the best moves or best decisions that you can is honestly all that you can ask for. I grew up in Davis, California. I was 5 years old, and full story is that I was at an after-school daycare, and I saw another teacher coaching a student, and they happened to be picking up the knight. And at that time, I was a pretty avid horse gal, so I told my dad, and he recognized that it was a game of chess. He eventually learned like the basic rules to teach me, and from there, I kind of took it and ran with it. During the pandemic, obviously I had a lot of time on my hands and I was still very introverted, but I saw some of my good friends streaming. I was an avid community member, avid chatter or spammer, but then I realized, what if I was on the other side of the camera? So I eventually decided to give it a try on my very old 10-year MacBook Air, but this whole process was very invigorating and new and refreshing to me. A lot of my high school friends were very supportive. That was also giving me a lot of encouragement. I felt like I was just chatting to my friends from the very beginning. Coming from California, a lot of my friends were staying in California universities. I decided to go to the other side of the country, Cornell, which I didn't really have friends at, and I wanted to start anew and see what I can do just from the ground up. Previous years, I've noticed that there's not as much communication between a Cornell chess club and the local community chess club, and I kind of wanted to bridge that gap because it's so important to be just as intertwined with the community and contribute back. So that's why I decided to get more involved with our local Ithaca Chess Club. Oh, you're making this really tough for me. It's honestly one of the best decisions of my life because I'm meeting people from all walks of life, from students who are just starting out to people who have been playing chess for decades. And it's just such a heartwarming combination to see everyone playing chess together and sharing joy over this game.
Hello and welcome back to CCL. Hi, I'm Jules, and this is my co-host and close friend, WGM, Dina Belankaya. We have another match for you here with Slooh versus Texas Rio Grande. So these are two of our strongest teams in the season. It's going to be some very exciting chess here. And when we take a look at the board assignments shortly, you're going to see a lot of GM names here. So anyone that looks familiar to you, Dina?
Yeah, I do know some of these players in person. I've seen them, as a matter of fact. Just a couple of weeks ago, we hosted an over-the-board Collegiate Chess League of USA, and for example, Grandmaster Robby Kevlishvili. Robby Kevlishvili was just here. I've met him. I had this very great video. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's an undercover grandmaster, and it was with Harshit, who is also a player of that team, but it hasn't. He doesn't play right now. Maybe that's gonna be the decider for the teams. Anyways, the game have started. I'm yip-yapping here, but we already have this exciting matchups, and as Jules said, lots of grandmasters, so lots of strong chess. Speaking of strong chess, what is this opening?
That's a good question there. I'm not sure what that came out of. Yeah, what could that have really come out of? Probably some d4 opening would be my best guess there, because I know we missed a few moves up front, and it seems like the second game also has gone in. Wondering what that bishop is doing there on d3, but they opened it up c3 to give them a space, and now you get kind of more of a typical structure. So I think we're going to see some exciting chess so far, and a Nimzo, one of my personal favorites there on board 3.
Yeah, we have, all right, well, right now on the screens we have a board 1, I believe, which is Erkin Baris Ozanir, I believe, versus Victor Gasik, and this is University of Texas versus St. Louis University, and we got this Queen D2 and Black castled, a very solid game so far, which started a little bit off, I believe. It was something interesting, a gambit, but hey, now White hasn't castled yet and has a chance to play h4, h5. Could have been very interesting to see if that's going to be an attack. White has a space, but there is this clear weakness of double pawns and 2 bishops, but it's a close position, so knights are better. And this is a type of a King's Indian without weaknesses. I would actually say it's a very comfortable play for black. Look at this, h4. They might have hurt me. What do you think, Jules?
I think that's a super interesting move there, and you don't really want to take and allow for the tactics in opening that file, but a little test drama here. Viktor Gazlik used to play for UT Rio Grande, so he's playing against his former teammates. He recently transferred to Slooh, so that's kind of probably an interesting experience to be playing against former teammates.
Oh, really? You mean he
Yeah.
just... Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so interesting. You know, some in the old days, they would not show up for the matchup for their former team out of respect, but those old days are gone.
And I think actually it's curious to see which side has an advantage because, you know, Gajic knows his teammates, he knows what they play, he knows their weaknesses, but they also know his. So it could end up being kind of a equal thing on there. But it looks like White's position is pretty spicy here. It looks a little bit more exciting to play as White.
Yeah, I absolutely love this game because I can tell you that from one side, Black has done nothing wrong and Black is doing pretty good, but also White needs to be creative because of this double pawns, and that's what they're doing, right? White needs to start the attack, but there are no weaknesses. It's not like the g6 pawn is out there. There is no fianchetto bishop to trade, right? So you kind of have to create an attack out of nowhere with the help of a closed center, and that's what Black is doing right now, trying to open up the center. So I'm very curious how this game is gonna go. Now there is a concrete problem. We are attacking d6, and you cannot really take my knight, because as I already mentioned before, knights on c5, f5, c4, and f4 are the key squares, the key knights. These are like the strongest positions. So this knight here is like a nail in your finger when you touched your counter table, a countertop. Sorry for the reference.
No, and by the way, we have a prediction in the chess chat. So who you think is going to win, make your vote there. Personally, I have 10 channel points for chess now because I've lost every single bet I've ever made. So I will abstain. Very sad. But do that over there. It will be a lot of fun. And yeah, so sorry to interrupt you there. Continue to talk about the position.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
Great.
Yeah, I was just talking to you about the countertop and the nail that has just been changed to, and then the pawn took, and now there is no more annoying knight, but the file is open, and that file is open for the attack, for the rook, for the queen, for everybody in their mama to come and attack the Black king. And the question is, how is Black gonna stop that attack?
Everyone besides my mom, who is recently learning chess, by the way, and getting into it. But maybe even she could take this position because it does look like it's very easy play for White. Meanwhile, Black is going to have to do pretty much everything to defend. So it's one of those situations where I think eval doesn't quite tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And now after h6, oh my god, g5. Very interesting. En passant, our favorite move. Yes, it is possible to swap the pawn off the board like that. You haven't seen that before, go check out en passant article on Chess.com. But in any case, Jules, let's take a look at the bird's eye view of all 4 boards. What is happening over there?
Yeah, it seems like we've got some exciting games going down here. Wow, okay, every single game here is attacking. We've got that board 2 game versus Robby Kevlishvili versus recent GM Sean Lemieux. Then also looks like board 3 is completely being dominated by the black pieces here with, look at those pawns, those monster pawns.
Yeah, those pawns attacking the knight, the board 3, the pawn on b4, the pawn on c4, the pawn on d5. That's an interesting game. We can take a closer look at that if you want.
Yeah, we should definitely take a closer look at that. I am laughing in chat because someone asked what would I have voted so they can do the opposite. Okay, very funny. I will get one of these right eventually. But these teams are also so close. They did very similarly, I think, in last season before the semifinals in the regular season. So I think almost, if I am correct, UT Rio Grande was leading the regular season or close to leading the regular season. So they're a very, very strong team.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they have grandmasters on their team, right? And now, in fact, this is a very interesting position because black is up a piece, but those knights are gonna fall, either one or another. And then white has sacrificed the knights for 2 pawns. But black is the one having the advantage. And it seems like it is so because the knight on b5 is gonna fall after rook a5. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that is going to be a little bit rough there. How do you defend everything? How do you keep everything together? I think Batsurin is doing a good job of holding together the position considering how difficult it is. But it seems that Caroso, if I get that name right, sorry for the pronunciation, is absolutely killing it and just finding the best moves, making it very difficult for the white pieces.
Yeah, look at this knight to a3. What a beautiful move. Putting the knight under the pawn's attack, but the pawn is pinned because there is a rook there. So, you thought you could take my knight? I don't think so.
It's a nice tactical defense, and he needs to take a second to think. Also, the time is a very important factor here. Slooh lost, actually. They were the, 3 or 4 time reigning CCL champions. They've won pretty much every year, and they lost last year. So I know they're trying to regain their title. This is very important for them.
And now a brilliant move with knight taking the pawn on e3. And after bishop takes, are we gonna see pawn b4 taking the knight on a3, deviating the bishop? Is this what this is about? That's the main question.
Yeah, and you kind of have to do something because your queen's under attack, everything's under attack. So you have to give that up, and I think that's pretty much the only defense, and he found it. And give a brilliancy there. I think both of those moves were given brilliancies or something like that, because now you're running into some issues.
That's a beautiful knight sacrifice. And now white is thinking, and rook takes e3, trading the rooks. Now b takes a3, pawn takes. And looking at this position, everything is even. Bishop is gonna take the pawn on a3, or rook is gonna take, and you think, nah, white is fine, everything's even. But this is an endgame, and b pawn is a passer, it's a pass pawn, and it's gonna promote to a queen.
Wow. And you know what? We actually have an early result. GM Sean Lemieux has won against Robby Kevlishvili, and that is an early point for UT Rio Grande. So look at that move. Oh my. Okay. And if takes, knight takes, and then here, it's kind of hard to see the full position.
Oh my god, what a beautiful checkmate. What was that? I wish I could have time to go back through this game. It just seems like it was a blunder, but it probably was a very strong attack over there. All right, well, let's take a look at the board 1. We have something very spicy going on. What is this?
Okay, so first thing when you see the eval is to count the material. And it seems even, but you've got that beautiful pawn there that looks ready to promote. And also, oh, apparently that wasn't the right move because maybe now it's hard to get the promotion. And, you know, you still have to worry. Queens are on the board. You have to take care of king safety.
Yeah, it seems like there is no defense from queen e7, maybe king f7, that's the right move. And then the knight is kind of controlling e6, but white is taking the pawn. Seems like white is still having the lead, controlling the advantage. Indeed, something was edgy over there, but life goes on. We're still better. We gotta be practical. Only few seconds on the clock, so time scramble. Very
And not
exciting.
only that, but this is the board 1 for St. Louis versus the board 4 for UT Rio Grande. So if St. Louis loses this, it would not be a strong start for them, especially since the first result is also a point for Texas. So it
Although-
seems that could be rough. Yeah?
Now that the queens are off the board, I don't see any advantage for white, Jules.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And I think if we see a draw here, that'd be interesting, but they have to keep a look on their time. Oh!
You
And now
should
we're
not
going to
have
one
taken that
pawn
pawn because the
endgame.
pawn endgame is lost.
Oh my, and you might not immediately see it, but you've got those double pawns and there's really no way to protect it all.
Did
You're
you
gonna
see
be
that
forced
king
out.
a3? So that on king c5 you put king b3 and it's a zugzwang.
Zugzwang! And the nice thing is you can always push up those pawns. You're going to promote, and we see it. It is a win. The board 4 beating the board 1 for St. Louis. What a tough start for St. Louis. Great start for UT Rio Grande. And it is 2-0, all residing on these last two boards.
Yeah, let's take a look on the board 4. It looks like this is another decider. If we see the evil bar and if it says the right things, another bishop versus knight and the rook endgame. I'm having a deja vu, but the only thing is that here the knight is so cut off that it seems like there is a result.
And what an upset result, too. We see St. Louis board 4 beating the board 1 for UT Rio Grande, but also we just saw a result on board 3 with Rio Grande taking another point. So that's going to be 3 versus 1. And those predictions were heavily favored for Slooh. And honestly, I probably would put my points on Slooh, too. So that's telling you something. But a great start for UT Rio Grande. And Slooh is going to need to get it together in this following round. Look at this. What do you think is the most surprising result that we saw here?
Yeah, honestly, it's been such a roller coaster match. 3-1, Texas wins, and it seemed like there were no compromise anywhere. Every single game was so fighting and so complicated. Wow.
Absolutely. And just what a strong start. I mean, these teams should be very evenly matched, but a huge strong start for UT Rio Grande. They are doing amazingly, and St. Louis is going to have to bring their A game here going into round 2 and make up 2 points. So we're going to see the board 1 versus board 3. So GM Victor Gajic versus GM Sean Rodriguez Lemieux. You know it's strong when it's 2 GMs, no matter the board. GM Robby Kevlishvili versus IM Ekin, GM Batsurin versus GM Gleb, and GM Eamon versus GM Jose. Wow. Lots of very, very strong players here, and we've seen lots of upsets. You might have seen some of these names when they played in Charlotte, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this board 3 board 1 for Texas is actually a very familiar name to me. No, I'm excited. Let's take a look. We see that the players are all ready. And we have the board, the first matchup that has already started with 1e4, knight c6? What kind of move is that?
It looks like the start of some sort of Vienna gambit that they decided not to go into, but now it almost seems like you're playing some sort of d4 opening, and f3, Ben Feingold would be so upset.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't blame him.
It seems like kind of an odd start, but you do have this pretty nice pawn chain, although it seems a little bit scary to do something, and maybe you're going to get hit with that c6 soon, breaking it up. I'm not sure. What do you think?
And then there is another h4. I'm having a deja vu. I feel like we've seen something like this before, although it was against the d4 and the c4, which is like very funny. Now it's the same kind of system set up for black against e4. Maybe that's the ultimate, go-to on how to play in blitz. Now c6 is a very good idea to attack the center. And I also want to point out that h4, protecting the bishop, but also, making a statement. Hello? You don't have a center? All right. So where are you going to castle? Because I'm coming. I'm coming after ya.
But at the same time, yeah, neither player really has enough time to castle at the moment. But I know if white will castle, my best guess is that maybe they would castle queenside, but now they don't have a dark squared bishop. Maybe the dark squares will be a weakness.
Yeah, White's ideal plan would be to make 2 moves in a row and play g4 and h5 and kind of block the Black's dark squared bishop just as because you said correct. So the dark squares, and then also play against the f5 square. On the other hand, for Black, if they manage to push f5, then they will have absolutely, or even h5, they won't have any problem at all. So very interesting strategical fight here.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you might see that trade did not do what it means to, but that dark square bishop's going to become very powerful. At the same time, as you've pointed out, and as we've seen as a theme, Black can't really castle, so who's going to attack first?
Yeah, and we can see that Black already managed to push h5. Now the bishop is going to go to h6, and now Black played c5. So Black is like, okay, you castle first, so then who's going to be attacking who? I'm going to push all my pawns on the queen side as well, and you don't have any advantage on the king side. Honestly, I'm here very much having a suspicion that Black might be outplaying.
It's definitely a possibility, and you see board 3 versus board 1, but all of these players are so evenly matched. I think these teams might have some of the most evenly matched boards. And that's a kind of interesting move, queen b5, because I would have thought that the bishop would want to go to d7, and maybe you'd be okay sacrificing that pawn, but maybe that's not the case.
Yeah, that was the biggest question. Did White really want to take that b7 pawn after the most logical bishop d7 or not? But look at this. White now says, I don't want to trade. Your queen is weird. But how is queen on b3 better than queen on d3? That's something I don't understand. I guess they're just playing dynamical chess, It's like, there was a concrete threat. Check. And if a6, maybe queen b6, and knight a... I don't know, Jules, but let's move on. Life moves on. Speaking of, let's take a look on the bird's eye view. We got other 3 games going on, which are not less exciting than this one's. Which one is catching your eye?
Yeah, as we go to bird's eye view, we will take a look at some of these games, and I don't know. It seems like every single game is pretty exciting, the one we just looked at, but maybe the second game has a lot of action in it too, where you're going to see kind of this opposite side castling, so that one looks good for me. Are there any in particular that you're drawn to?
No, I'm here just following you. So board 2, we got Robby Kevlishvili just having a slight edge with Black after bishop to b3, a dubious move. Why so? Another, by the way, unstable position with opposite castles. Look at this. White king is on d1, Black king on g8, and then the fianchetto bishop gets traded. And now the ideal situation is queen h6, check, and queen h7, checkmate. But how to make that happen, though?
Especially when your own pawn, it's almost like one of those positions where you just want to get rid of your own pawn, which is very rare. And it seems a little dubious because I'm also a bit worried if I'm White about a4. There must be a concrete way to counter it, but I'm not sure.
If I was playing White, honestly, I would just cough and move my hand, and then the h3 pawn would magically disappear. The only issue is that this is online chess, and you can't cheat like that, but...
So now we know, Dina. But yeah, I would be a little bit worried about some of those advancing pawns. It seems like Black's attack is a little stronger. And like you said, yeah, it's just that h-pawn, your own pawn standing in the way.
Yeah, well, it's okay though, but I do agree you highlighted it. The a4 is actually a very big threat, and it doesn't seem like bishop has any move. So the question is it gonna be time to sacrifice h4, h5, but you take my bishop, but I open the files, but then h7 is gonna be protected. Oh my goodness, I'm worried here for White.
And if you're the white pieces, I think he's taking so much time because he does not want to make that concession of a3. I mean, you don't want to open up your position like this. It's really uncomfortable. And then, anyway, a4 will be coming maybe if you can move your bishop back and tuck your king away on a1, but still you don't want to do that, and you don't have time to make that attack like you pointed out.
Yeah, so queen d3 is actually preparing the very simple bishop c4, but it doesn't seem to be that good, maybe because of d5, taking the, rook c5. Honestly, Jules, it seems like any move here for black is good enough. They're just so much faster with their attack.
And one of the important things to note is, especially with that kind of easy move of the double up, that knight is doing so much on d4. That knight is protecting everything, which means it's a little bit overloaded.
Yeah, well, in a way, it is protecting everything because it's the knight in the center. And you know what that means? That means your knights are good in the center, which you already know, of course, but it's just a reminder. The whole position of white is on this knight, but it's also an interesting thing that d6 is a isolated pawn, so the knight in front of the isolated pawn is a good thing. But once again, it all comes down to the moves, because the castles are opposite, so whoever is gonna be faster here. I do have to point out that now white managed to stabilize the situation a little bit with the bishop on a4, stopping the pawn wall, right? Protecting the c2. But something tells me it's only a matter of time until black will find a way to go through.
Yeah, but at the same time, maybe you could even push or consider pushing b3 if you have time at some point, because they don't have a dark squared bishop, but maybe they'll trade off that light square bishop and that will be a mistake later on. But it's definitely something to consider.
Right. And do we have any other action going on, Jules? We got more boards to cover that we haven't looked at. We have, I believe, 2 more games that we haven't gotten a chance to see. Which one is catching your eye?
Let's see. The 2 games that we're looking at, probably, we have looked at board 4 a little bit. Board 3, I think, is still stable for the moment. Board 1 is where the action is at, in my humble opinion. But yeah, I think between board 3 and board 4, I would probably go board 4. But board 1 definitely has a lot to be looked at.
Yeah, with the board 1, you do see that king on e7, and you're like, how the heck did that happen? And most importantly, white the bishop on f8 is still on f8 and not on h6, and white the knight is on h6. But I do want to highlight that we haven't looked at the board 4 at all, and I would love to give a small chance to those guys just to make sure that everything is fine over there. Although it seems like a pretty boring position, honestly. A draw could happen anytime soon. And then another game that we didn't look at was the board 3, I believe, between Gleb and Dambasuran. And g5. What is it?
G5 is a spicy move, because it feels like you're opening things up a little bit, but maybe not, because you don't really want to be the one to take there. And there aren't a lot of pieces on the board, which makes king safety a little less important, but the queen is still active. The queens are still active.
Yeah, how the heck do you move your opponent in front of your king like that?
And we see they're just trying to trade, because that makes a lot of sense. This is something that I think you might have taught me, that the side with less space should sometimes go for the trades to open it up a little bit. And they definitely had a little bit less space with all their pieces crunched there on the third line.
Well, honestly, I don't know if that's true for this particular situation, because when we talk about space, we do kind of mean pawns, you know? If all the files are open and your pieces look a little bit like behind, I wouldn't worry too much. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a space issue. But the knight going to e5 was an interesting move, and now pieces are getting traded. I think it all gonna come down to the king safety, Jules. And here we can see an opposite colored bishop. And you know what's the plan with the opposite colored bishop and the queens on the board? It is to attack. And now black king is going to be predisposed to the attack. So, yeah, we'll see. I I think the most important thing about this game is that black is a pawn up. And we probably should have said that earlier, but, you know, math is a complicated science.
Very true. Sometimes it's not easy to see that. Let's take a look at bird's eye view. I know a lot is going down on some of these boards. We're having maybe a potential time scramble on both boards 1 and 2, as well as 3. So that could be interesting. When it's mutual time scramble, really anything can happen.
Yeah. What is this? What is this? We have such a tight matchup. I don't recall the previous matchups being so intense. Wow.
Yeah, and Slooh knows they need to get a few points back, and they might actually get it, because look how good Gajik is doing here. Robby Kevlishvili has managed to turn this position a little bit, and now it's looking super good. So Slooh might get their points back on board 1 and 2.
Yeah.
There's
Two
a chance
decisive advantages for the board 1 and the board 2 over there.
Although you have to be careful when you have so little time. It's just about who makes the last blunder, who makes the last mistake. But it does seem like, especially in that board 1, it's a little bit easier to play for Gajik. And that king is no longer looking super safe.
Yeah, rip the king. It just doesn't seem like anything can happen here. I can't imagine any swindle over there. Although the rook is attacked, no, but now it's a trade. No, that's gonna be a game over. So yeah, I believe. And if we go to the bird's eye view once again, and we see 2 results just as we speak.
2 for Slooh, yes, which means right now they are even. It just means they have to score 1 point on the next board, and even Rio Grande could get a point there, and then it would be completely tied up, which it looks like UT Rio Grande might get their point on that board 4 there.
Oh my god, something is happening in that bishop endgame. The evil bar is jumping like crazy. The board number 4 was so good, but now it doesn't seem like there is any way to win this game. It looks like a fortress. I don't know who's making the fortress. Is it white or is it black? Both sides are trying to play for a win, but the pawn is gonna get stopped after d7. The bishop will stop it with the bishop on g5. Yeah, this is gonna be a draw, but this is bad news for the side that's on the losing.
Yeah, but actually I think it might be tied up, because if we see also a draw on board 3, then the score would be completely tied, because Slooh managed to get those 2 points, those 2 clutch victories, and if we see a draw on board 3 and 4, then they'll just be going in completely even.
Yeah.
Which looks like it's the case, but also with these time scrambles, you never know. I think there's a little bit more life on this board 3, because you have to be super careful. Oh, and MFC almost flagged. He was down to 0.2 seconds there on board 3. And it's just a lot of maneuvering, but you have to be so careful. You don't want to accidentally lose a bishop. You don't want to lose a pawn, because then all of a sudden it becomes extremely complicated. He has 1 second. Oh, it makes me so nervous sometimes.
And white just won the game.
Oh,
what?
Just 1 blunder.
It was a blunder. What happened? Bishop c6 and bishop takes d2.
Oh, it's just a rook hang, and that's what happens when you get down to 3 seconds. It's so tough. Oh my, and then that was a point for UT Rio, which means, I think that means that Texas is taking the lead with a point again. It was all drawn up for a second, and it would have been all drawn up, but now I think Texas is taking the lead with a point, but still so close, Dina. Like, this is going to be a really close match.
Yeah, indeed. And Texas is leading indeed. Let's take a look at the matchups that have just happened. Jules, bring us through the game results.
Absolutely. And as we see, it's 3.5 to 4.5. In Slooh's, board 1 has 1 out of 2 points. Texas also has 1 out of 2 points. Board 2, 1 out of 2 for Texas, 1.5 out of 2. GM Batsurin, 0 out of 2. GM Sean Rodriguez Lemieux, 1 out of 2. GM Ian, 1.5 out of 2. and I am Eken 1 out of 2. This is so close. I'm wondering what is gonna happen in this this next coming round. This is the decisive round, make it or break it.
Absolutely, I'm so much looking for that, but before that, we're gonna be taking a quick break, but don't go anywhere, we'll be right with you.
Yes, we will. And you know what? Everyone's favorite weekly event, Title Tuesday, just got doubly exciting, with more and more titled players joining the likes of Hikaru, Magnus, and Jose Martinez in the weekly Blitz tournament. We've decided to double the prize pot for the first Title Tuesday that reaches 1,000 players, which means players who finish in the top 30 will earn a cash prize. Will it happen this Tuesday? Use !2x in chat or visit go.chess.com/double for all the details. Stick around, the final rounds of Slooh vs UT Rio Grande are up next.
Looking for new ways to enjoy chess? Check out our schedule of Chess.com community events today. Mondays, play Rapid Opening Roulette and expand your opening repertoire with a new opening each month. Tuesdays, compete against other untitled players in Untitled Tuesday. Battle your way to the top in Arena Kings on Wednesdays. And finish the week off each Saturday with the blistering Community Bullet Brawl. All happening in the Community Club on Chess.com.
What if I told you I became a grandmaster by solving the same exact chess exercises over and over again? Yes, it sounds a little crazy. After all, if each chess game is different, why repeat something you've seen before? Shouldn't you practice calculating in unique positions every time? Well, that's true. But there's also a way to train your brain to streamline its calculations, and that's the woodpecker method. My friend Hans Tikkanen invented the woodpecker method in 2010 when he was training to become a grandmaster. 7 weeks after he finished using his method, he earned all 3 of his GM noms to earn his title. Seeing his success, I had to try it for myself. And a couple of years later, I became a grandmaster too. As word spread, others tried it too, with excellent results. Okay, so what is the woodpecker method? The first step is to take any large amount of chess puzzles and solve as many as you can in 4 weeks. In my books and chessable courses on the woodpecker method, there are about 1,000. You don't need to do that many, especially if you are a beginner, but I recommend solving at least a few hundred. At the end of the 4 weeks, take a break, a few days at least. Then, solve the same exact problems again, this time aiming to finish them in 2 weeks. You might remember the solutions from before, that's okay, but try to solve them like you're seeing them for the first time. After you finish the second cycle, try solving them in 1 week, and then a few days, and then try solving all of them in a single day. It's not easy work, trust me. I didn't think I was going to make it the first time I tried it, but the results were remarkable. It's because much of chess is pattern recognition. Rather than calculating every single move in a position, your brain looks for ideas and patterns it has seen before first, and they help you calculate faster and more accurately. So by doing the woodpecker method, you're building intuition, helping your brain become more efficient in calculation. And that's the woodpecker method in a nutshell.
We just got started, so I'll let you know.
And the rebounder, Richardson. Still an opportunity with a minute to play.
Hello, welcome back everyone to CCL. We have our round 3 of Slooh versus UT Rio Grande, and this is such a close match. I think this next round will be so crucial to who wins. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. This is so tight. St. Louis and Texas are now 3.5 to 4.5, with Texas leading 1 point only. But this is nothing because we got 8 more games going on. Let's go. I am super pumped for this.
Absolutely, and we're going to see the board 1 versus board 2s and the board 3 versus board 4s. At the same time, I think boards don't even really matter here anymore because everyone is so closely matched. I mean, look at these ratings.
Yeah, and we got grandmasters here and there. Texas is actually an underdog with Akin on board 4, who is only an IM. But since when we say that IM is only an IM, hey, I would take that title with my eyes closed.
Absolutely, and also sometimes some of these players, no matter what their classical rating is, are better at blitz. So we'll see what happens here. I think we're starting with an English on board 1. Or maybe this is transposing to some sort of Catalan. What do you think? Or I think this is just the English with a fianchetto
Yeah,
bishop.
absolutely. English, English, but not the London. It is not a Catalan because Black managed to control the d4, and that's a very standard situation over here. Kind of building a slow game, you know, a very good way of starting your blitz game because you got a lot of moves that you can do in a row. It's kind of playing a system. I love that. Pretty boring for now, but don't be fooled. This is gonna be a big fight.
No, it definitely will be eventually, and everyone knows here that they need to get the points. I mean, you do not want to go into the last round down a point. So I know Slooh is going to be fighting back here, and it seems like UTRGV is basically saying, yeah, try to get your win. I'll play the English, see what happens.
Yeah, no, I love this. I love this. And if we look at the bird's eye view, we got 2 more games that have already started. And one of those is a Queen's Gambit declined. My favorite. Let's take a look at that. That's a board 2. We got the very standard, very old, very typical opening. I love it. I've been playing it myself this year for both colors. Fun fact, I actually had it 3 times at the Bodas Camp tournament, and all of them were not successful, but the opening is good. The minority attack with the b4. Jules, any experience in the Queen's Gambit declined?
Yes, this is my opening. It's kind of my punishment opening too, because I used to be a Banco player and that did not go very well for me. And then I was told that I have to pick a solid opening. So, you know, QGD is a tough opening to play because basically it's very, very solid, but it's hard to kind of make progress or make it sharp or come up with plans. You just have to hold everything together and play positionally, which I know that Robby Kevlishvili is very good at doing.
Yeah, as he's a part of... okay, just kidding. Not going into there, but I love the trade on e4 for white because now we got a clear plan on the white side. You know, honestly, a tough opening or an easy opening, I think it all comes down to a style. Are you a positional player or are you a dynamic player? Do you love attacking or do you want to have a slow game? And that's when it's gonna be tough for you to actually find the opening that fits you the most. So now bishop on f5 is looking a bit ugly. That explains why it is a dubious move by Chess.com notation. You know, never put the bishop in front of the pawn because then it's gonna become just another big and tall pawn.
Yeah, I think it must be that, you know, he knows that he's going to lose that pawn. Maybe he wants to provoke g4, so at least he loses it, but has some sort of target. But I don't see how else you really defend that pawn.
Yeah, probably was needed. Now knight on e2, and whilst White is gonna bring all their army and try to attack, maybe put an outpost on c5, create a pass pawn, d, protected pass pawn. Black should be able either to bring the knight on d5 and kind of solidify, I don't know if that's the word, their play, or start the attack and push all the pawns on the queen side, bring the queen on g5, knight on h4, and the queen g2, checkmate. Boy had a dream.
And it might be what they go for, actually. And you know what? If we see something sharp out of a QGD, I will be majorly impressed. But we just see a defense. Gleb is like, nope, just want to kind of play it solid. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult here for Robby.
Yeah, now the knight is attacking the bishop, and the question is what's black gonna do? Well, they could easily just play queen g5 and kind of like, hey, take my knight, take my bishop, but then I'm gonna checkmate you, but then there is like a queen c5, so I don't know, this is like, I honestly don't even know which side I would take, but I guess white, just because the bishop hasn't justified itself yet for me. If only, Jules, I know you love dreaming, the bishop could have come to d3, that would be cool.
I mean, they do say that the best way to figure out your moves is to see where you want to place your pieces and then try to get it there. But that bishop, I think, would have a very long and almost impossible road to get to that d3 square.
Yeah, and it almost feels like we've gave this to players enough attention, but we still have 2 more games we haven't looked at all. And how about we go back to the bird's eye view and see what's going on the other 2 boards, because I feel like this match is so intense, we really need to be sure we see everything. And look at that board 3 with the fianchetto squares, and the black bishop is about to be traded.
Yeah,
Bishop
it looks like they could be a little bit positional there.
Yeah, this is an isolated pawn. By the way, another... it could be any opening, right? It could be... in a way, it could be Queen's Gambit accepted. Could be Caro-Kann, this isolated pawn structure. I personally hate it because I cannot play it neither with black nor with white. And then white's plan, for those who don't know, is actually to attack the king. And now it's going to be very interesting to do so because of this dark squares, the weakness, right? That we just traded the bishop. And then sometimes you want to see the pawn push d5, kind of like break everything. And for black, on the other hand, the plan is to blockade the the isolated pawn with a knight, but also trade all the minor pieces so that, guess what, there is no attack on the king, but also you could use your major pieces, queen and rooks, to attack the d4 and make it a weakness.
That is a great bit of knowledge too, because a lot of people talk about improving in chess through puzzles, through tactics, but one of a great way that people overlook is just understanding your structures. What do you do in certain positions? So a little plug for Dina's chess school, because I know she teaches some of that stuff and it's very essential and kind of hard to learn elsewhere. So something very important to look at there. And that IQP structure, as we see, both these players are aware of those plans, trying to attack that weakened pawn, trade pieces. Meanwhile, white, if they can exchange this pawn, they'll be very, very happy, which is what we see over here. But it's still got a lot of life in it.
Yeah, and we just seen d5 on the board, and that's exactly what I predicted. And I have to warn you, d5 is not just to exchange so to be a weakness, because very oftentimes it's not a weakness. It can be a strength because it's controlling and restricting the center. So here, for instance, d5 is not just to equalize so to be. d5 is actually to dominate with the knights on d5 and take the control of all the squares and actually attack the king, because white is gonna say, yes, the position is looking symmetric. You think it's a draw? Hell no. This is gonna be my pieces 10 times better than your pieces, and you just won't have enough time to defend against everything. So that's very oftentimes how white is tricking black. by trading the pawn, but actually doing it in order to win.
Absolutely. And now you don't have as many issues. Of course, they're trying to make some issues with that. Wow. Okay.
Did you
Look
see
at that tactic! Oh, no way! Rook, queen takes, and then you have a fork and you win the queen. What an odd tactic. Do you think he's going to see it?
Is white gonna find it out? Sacrifice the rook! And queen takes! And win the queen! The pawn just got it on the board!
Oh my! Oh, and you see it, and that is what those advanced players do. They have these senses in these positions where most of us would be like, okay, like, cool move. But, oh, and now he's just up material, and this game is most likely going to be a win for white.
Yeah, this is such a beautiful tactic, honestly. I wouldn't have, sorry for the screaming, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for the memes, but a little bit of hope here for black. They still have 2 knights, so maybe there is some fork here and there, but objectively speaking, should be a winning game. Jules, how about we take a look at the last game we haven't seen yet, and from the bird's eye view, it is the game number 4, I believe, which is also interesting with some attacks going on. Look at that g4 pawn, and I see attacks, but I don't see any queens. Can we attack in the endgame? Is that a thing?
It's gotta be a thing here, and you know, you've got all these active pieces. And okay, yeah, I had to take a double look at this position because at first it looks like a bunch of things are hanging, but also that bishop was hanging as well, so you kind of need to make a move to prepare it. So now the only move really seems to be f3 to protect everything.
Yeah, so I do see black attempting to outplay something here with the pawn on e4. After bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, but then there is a pawn on c7. So just another opposite colored bishops. You know, an ideal situation for me would be bishop f4, rook e2, although not possible, and then rook h2 checkmate, but not really.
We can dream.
Realistic. Yeah.
One can hope, but it's important to look at these things and kind of understand what you're going for and what you have to look out for. But we also see this time difference. It's a minute versus 20 seconds, chat. That is not what you want. It's not what you want, but in a little bit of a dry position like this, or a bit drier, maybe you can get away with that.
Yeah. Up, rook, endgame.
I see some action going on the other boards. Perhaps we should go back to bird's eye, see what's happening here. It looks like Batsurin absolutely continuing his domination there. The game of the QGD game we were looking at on board 2 seems to be getting a little bit spicy, where black has to find a lot of good defending moves, but they have more time.
Yeah. What is this? The knight jumping to f5, attacking the rook, and the rook is overcharged. Actually, it's not. Actually, is it?
Well, it seems like everything is being held together in a kind of difficult way. Like, you still have to keep your queen on that diagonal to protect the bishop. The rook is defending, or was defending, that g7. And now the queen's coming in, and you won't be able to defend with the bishop if there's that check.
Yeah. This looks like a killing check. But no, it wasn't. It didn't happen. What? Knight e7, king f7, knight d5, and now black is winning? White is winning? Black is winning? White has just blundered a knight!
Maybe he thought he could take the bishop at the end. Maybe he didn't see that the queen is still defending. That might have been why he went for that line. Or maybe now he thinks that somehow he can trap the bishop, but the king is still a little bit insecure. It's not over yet.
It's not over. But the queen to e8 now. Why wasn't it rook f8 would have been stopping the... Oh boy.
And now everything's consolidating, and we see the time, although he still does not have a lot of time. You know, now the position is a lot easier. He's managed to consolidate, and he doesn't need to defend as much. And it seems like white is actually on the defense right now.
Black is completely winning. It's over.
That's your commentator's prediction?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we trade. He's just... I mean, with this endgame, you can get the time back.
It was such a winning game for white. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and as we see it, perhaps we should go back to bird's eye view and just check out the final games as they are ending. Yeah, we see that game that we just looked at, as well as Betsarin, again, with his material advantage. And wow, there was a drawn game on board 4, but it seems like some action is happening there where you have to be a little careful. It's what we talked about with those active rooks. And rook on the 7th.
Oh my god. And I feel like I jinxed it for the game that we were just looking, but I don't want to spoil it to you, but it's actually not as clear if you look at that one. But okay, here we got the rook endgame, and the rook on the 7th, and the king is cut. Everything according to the book.
Yeah, and this should be much harder to play for black, but it seems like he really knows his technique here, and it's hard to make progress as white here. So, yeah, there could definitely be some action. Probably going to see some sort of mutual queening or stopping of the pawn. Yeah, I'm very surprised that that board 2 game we were looking at seems to be having a lot going on, so maybe we should stick in bird's eye view for a second.
Yeah, a lot of action for the time scrambles again for us, and we got another result as well.
Whoa, and going back and forth there.
Choose white is winning with a bishop down. Look at that game. Robby Kevlishvili.
He's
oh
just
my god,
dominating it. Look at the pawns. I mean, it's so hard to stop everything, but you have to be so careful because when you're materially down, you have to just hold on to the momentum, and it's so difficult under time pressure.
How the hell did that happen? I said that was over.
And at some point, you might want to sacrifice the... No, I don't even know if you want to sacrifice the bishop for the pawn or if you even can, because it might just be winning with that beautiful pass pawn on the e-file.
Oh yeah, but now there is a fortress. Unless black goes all in and decides to play for a win. Yeah.
It's a fortress, but still feels a little bit difficult to play. And you know, he really wants his win, so he's just taking all the chances he can get here.
Now white is going all in and throwing the game.
Yeah, but it feels like you shouldn't be able to take that pawn because maybe you can promote on the h-file. There's still a lot for black to be worried about. But now that pawn is gone and you're going to be losing your other pawn, but maybe you can hold on. Like if you can manage to... Yeah.
What? And king f5. Oh, trading the pawn. Oh my god!
And then
We
get this
gotta
endgame.
see a 50 move.
Oh my, and you know Robby can't be really happy with that because now he's going to have to defend, which this is a theoretical draw. We saw it at the World Rapid and Blitz held by a previous commentator of CCL. But at the same time, you have to play this well, and it is easy to lose. Like, you can lose this theoretical draw in endgame, so usually people like to play it out till the very end.
I would say it's so much easier to lose when you're actually playing in Blitz, for sure. So much easier to lose. And I don't like the... Okay, here's better. The best, for me, the easiest way to, like, fortress is exactly to keep the king and the rook one square apart, the opposite color of the bishop. So now this is the right thing to do, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think we'll be able to hold it. I'm wondering what chat thinks here, because I think he'll be able to hold, although this, again,
I don't like that. Why not to put the rook on G? Okay, maybe that's a fortress. Yeah, that's a fortress.
Yeah, I have heard that some of the easier ways to defend this is just to try to pin the bishop whenever you can, so nothing bad happens, and try to trade brooks if you can. But otherwise, yeah, it's a little bit difficult.
Ew.
Both sides are doing everything right, and you cannot sack the rook for the bishop because you're just losing. So we're going to see them play it out. I mean, they have to for the team, and on increment, they can play this out.
And good thing is that Chess.com makes a draw automatic whenever it reaches 50 moves without moving pieces.
Because normally you have to claim, and it's a little scary when you're under time pressure to try to claim that because you don't want to be wrong. Yeah, here it seems he's just moving back instead of going for the pin, maybe rook a4. Or, yeah, I guess he can kind of do whatever here, but you have to be really careful. And at some point, black might want to try to move that king to the edge if he can, and maybe make some mating threats. But I don't think Robby's going to allow that. Or sorry, I don't think Lipsky allow that.
It's funny because actually I made a piece of content with Robby. I recorded, I made him repass his endgames, theoretical endgames. I made him, I forced him to checkmate me with a knight and a bishop on the 30 seconds.
That's tough.
And he did. So I can tell you that Robby knows his endgames.
He's done it, he knows what he's doing, and he's going to play it out, because you have to in this situation. I see Rick and Morty ask, what's the time control? This is 5+2, so they do have time to get back. If this did not have increment, I would say this is just like an automatic win, because it'd be so hard to play. But with increment, he can hold this draw. But you see here, Black is doing what they should be doing. They're creating a lot of mating threats, and now White has to not only look out for losing a piece, but also for hanging some sort of mate.
Damn, I don't like that, Jules.
Oh!
What?
You see it because he had the mate on the board. Like, it would be very difficult to survive this. But then right when he was hitting the mate, it hit the 50 move roll. Oh, that's so funny. That's literally exactly what happened in the World Rapid and Blitz. It's like one move away from mate, you hit the 50 move roll, and you just know his opponent is thanking his lucky stars right now. Because if you look at that position, like, it's just completely winning for Black otherwise. And now we see it.
I have to take my words back. I think the technique of White was really bad. Technique of White, it was Gleb, right? I think he wasn't doing the right thing, because there is no chance you can get yourself in such a loss in a theoretically draw position. This is a shame! He's a grandmaster!
No, it's easier than you think. It's easier than you think, especially with the time, and Robby was doing what he should. But here we see it. It's 6.5 to 5.5. St. Louis has the advantage now. So we have a little turn there, but it's first to 8.5. So the next round will determine all. That's
exactly. And let's take a look at actually, what are we taking a look at, Jules?
The round-by-round lineups, which are going to come over soon. But when we see that, we're going to see all the boards playing their respective boards. But it's going to be really important for Texas to get this point back somehow. So they're going to really try to play some aggressive openings. They're going to try to make it difficult for their opponents. And as we see, board 1 versus board 1, Victor versus Gleb, Robby Kevlishvili versus Jose Cardozo, Batsurin versus Sean Rodriguez Lemieux, and GM Eamon versus IM Eakin on board 4. Here we see it, St. Louis has the white pieces for their top boards, so that can be a slight advantage. They also have a point up, but Texas held the advantage earlier, so maybe they can bring it back. It's really anyone's match still.
Yeah, this is so exciting. I mean, and those two teams, they've been historically fighting with each other for who is the strongest collegiate team in North America. I believe that they have a very long history of playing each other.
Yeah, they're two very, very strong teams, and this is not the only tournament where they play each other. By the way, the original Black Paper, thank you for gifting 10 subs to Dina. Appreciate it. We're gonna get into the game going on, and it looked like it was like almost a Roy, but now we're seeing, I think this is called the Ponziani, if I'm correct. It's almost like a Roy, but without the bishop e5 move.
Ooh, look at that. And
Black Pepper, thank you for the 10 subs. Appreciate you.
With all those subs, we are heading to the last matchup, and this is where everything is gonna be happening. Bird's eye view, we got two boards have started. I do see Jules' favorite Sicilian defense on the board too. Are you excited for that, Jules?
Is this a Najdorf, otherwise known as the Nodorf? The Najdorf is a difficult opening to play and play against, but I think it's very powerful. Like, if you know your Najdorf theory, it's going to be very difficult to play against you.
Never play f3, as Mr. Feinstein says, but here it's totally fine, and I know he's a Feingold and not Feinstein. Don't worry, I'm just messing with you. It's a private joke. But the king is castled on the long side, so you can, in fact, play f3. That's totally fine. And now White is already starting the attack with the pawns on the king side, and Black then would have to castle queen side as well. The only difference is that there might be a little bit more open over there. So yeah, I hate Sicilian defense.
I was going to ask, is it really the end of the world to castle queenside like this? You're definitely going to get something a little bit slower, but I feel like I agree that if you castle kingside, it's just like insta-death.
Yeah. And now bishop g5, a very cute outpost over there for the bishop after h5 has been played. And the question might be, where do you put your f1 bishop for white? But the answer is nowhere. The bishop is a half-developed piece, and you don't really need to develop it if there is no urge to bringing or connecting the rooks, because the white rook might very well be pretty comfortable on the g file after g4 opening up, and now knight transferring from c3 to d4, preparing against b4. Very typical Sicilian. Jules, I believe you know more about these positions than I do. Whose side would you pick?
I don't know. I think I would actually pick white here because I've played this kind of line against the Najdorf, and I feel like your attacks are a little bit slow, but also for black, the attacks are also a little bit slow. But the king is surprisingly safe for black there on e8 temporarily. You just have to be more wary of attacks and tactics.
Yeah, that does make sense. And now the knight is attacked. How about we take a look at the bird's eye view, see what's going on over there. I just hope we don't have any more Sicilians. Maybe we have something super exciting. Oh my goodness! Look at the board 4. This is like the sharpest line possible in QDD. Queen's Gambit declined. Speaking of chess nerdy terminology, I believe that's a Queen's Gambit declined. If we look at that.
Really?
Yeah, Jules, if you're bored that the Queen's Gambit declined, this is a line for ya. You can just push the G pawn and attack the bishop and then push the C5. Yeah, what an exciting game. And apologies for that, but I have to click on this button and then go through all this. Look at this. I was just worried that I was getting it wrong, but it is Queen's Gambit declined, and then G5, and then C5. As a matter of fact, is that? Oh my god, Jules.
Tell me.
I think this is a guy from Armenia, from the Texas team, right?
Could be.
With black. I think I just played with him, and he played the exact same line against me the day before Collegiate Chess League over the board here in Charlotte at the New Year's Eve.
Wow.
At the Chess Center.
Oh, wow. So you're getting a little bit of flashbacks here with these lines. It took you a second to jog the memory there, but that's really interesting. So it must be a pet line he knows pretty well.
Exactly, that's him. I can see his face, and I was completely winning. But my point is, this is one of those moments where you recognize the person as a chess player by the position they have on the board. The only way I could recognize this guy in the fact that I played with him is when I saw the exact same line he is playing right now that he played against me. Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny. And you see it. You see it sometimes. You see these lines and you're like, wait a second. But we'll see how it goes for him here, and maybe sounds like you got an interesting position out of it, so maybe we'll get an interesting position here.
Yeah, and he is playing for St. Louis. Apologies on that. This is the board 4 of St. Louis. Yeah, that's so hilarious. Bishop to d3. Yeah, now more that I think about it, boy, I have to make a short out of that game. You'll see it on my socials. You'll remember me.
Yeah, and this is his first time on broadcast as well, so this is pretty important. Really just showing all the stuff here, and it's a fun line, actually. I should look into it. I usually keep my bishop on the sad little e7 square whenever I play QGD, but shows you can just make it more exciting. And offering a queen trade there, you'd have a pretty decent structure. So a lot of people are scared of doubling pawns, but that structure is not that bad when you can get that open file, and then you have the doubled c-pawns and that dean pawn protecting. It's hard to do anything with that.
Yeah, indeed. I do love the bishop on d3, an outpost, right? So good. Another opposite called bishops. It feels like we're cursed here, Jules. They're just following us everywhere.
Well, maybe it means we know our stuff. You never know, but it might be worth going to Bird's Eye, checking out some of the action on the other boards in this decisive round where St. Louis is up a point versus Texas. However, it's first to 8.5, so St. Louis is going to need 2 points to get there. Texas needs 3, and really anything can happen. It does look like St. Louis has the early advantage evaluation-wise, but actually not even. It seems pretty even here, but all St. Louis needs is 2 points.
Yeah, it might be just 2 points, but good luck getting those 2 points.
Yeah.
All right. Which game should we take a closer look at, Jules?
There's a lot of interesting stuff here on the board. Maybe looking at the third game, Batsurin versus Rodriguez, Lemieux might be interesting.
Yes, let me take a look.
Yeah. And as we take a look at this position, now we see finally castling there. And there aren't a lot of pieces on the board, but it does seem that the bishop pair is going to be extraordinarily powerful at some point. And in open positions like this, we've talked about a little bit how bishop pair might be superior to knights.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and my first instinct is like, why the heck is the bishop on d3 in front of the d2 pawn, the central pawn, and the pawn is on d2 and not on d4? That's so unusual.
Yeah, maybe he just hasn't had time to move it a little bit yet. But also, you know, a little scared for that bishop there on g7, because I almost don't really want to move it to h6 and risk getting some sort of pin action going on.
Yeah,
but
the pin would be annoying, and that's the only way where the bishop can go. But look at this. White says, no, I'm not gonna move the bishop. I'm gonna just win the f6 pawn.
But how do you do that with that knight there?
Maybe you go bishop e4 and then remove the knight. And then guess what? We gotta have another opposite colored bishop endgame.
Maybe, unless some sort of rook g8 thing. But even then, I think there's probably tactics with bishop takes f6 anyway. So, I mean, well, actually, no, because unless the king moves over, there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done here. But I like your move, bishop e4. We'll see if that happens, if that's not hanging anything. But I think it looks pretty solid.
Yeah, and you can always remove the king from the check if there were any pins. So indeed, it just looks like those pawns are gonna fall, and it feels like black should actually... Oh, white chose bishop c4. Very interesting. Rook g8, we predicted it, and now maybe something like king b2? As simple as that, we chill. And then there is rook g6 coming. I feel like this pawn is not gonna stay there. Either it's moving forward or it's going down.
Oh my gosh, look at this time! 2.5 seconds to 2 minutes. I didn't even see that.
Oh my god! Move!
We're like debating the complexities of the position and don't notice he's down by 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Oh my god, 2 seconds on the clock! Black has just made a move with 8 milliseconds! Move!
And that is literally almost a flag there. Like, sometimes you just get unlucky and you flag some of those positions with so little time on your clock. I think this could be a win for white.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And look at the pawn! Where is the pawn? Where's the pawn? Oh, never mind. It's not there anymore.
RIP to pawn, and you have so much time. It's kind of a complex position still, and you have so much time to think about it if you're white and you have, 2 minutes. But if you don't, then it kind of sucks that's a complex position, and that's probably why he trades down, even though it's not favorable for him, just trying to survive the position. But still, I mean, this looks like it's going to probably be a white victory if we want to go back to bird's eye view.
Yeah, let's take a look at overall match score. All games are so decisive. Oh, we just got a first result. Looks like Robby Kevlishvili won another game.
Oh, wow. And that also means that since Viktor Gajic won, I believe it's 8.5 points for St. Louis. So they're taking home the match here with these 2 games. Of course, the other 2 boards don't know it's still important for tiebreak points, but it means Slooh, even though they started out with a little bit of a rough start, they took home the match.
Yeah, 2 more games going, but in both games, white is having a very big advantage. Let's take a look at the board 3. We got something completely winning.
All right, yeah, so this is the position that we just saw there with not a lot of time, and your position is great. Not a lot of black pawns left on the board. You're going to have that passed pawn on a4 as well, and I mean, you're trading back into a same color bishop endgame, but don't be fooled because your bishop is eyeing a8 there where that pawn wants to go, so kind of convenient.
Yep, and black resigned. The last game going on is the game number 4. We have it on the bird's eye view, and that's where the rook is on this second, and that's another opposite colored endgame, but it seems like it's pretty drawish, but unfortunately, it's not gonna decide the match anymore.
No, it's not, but they don't know that, which is why they're going to be playing on with all their strength, because for all they know, this is the deciding match, and no one wants to be the reason your team loses. Everyone wants to be the reason your team wins. So,
oh my god!
Especially, we're going to see that, yeah.
But that bishop on G wasn't... Oh my god! What's going on now? The rooks are going to get doubled. No, actually, never mind. It's all fine.
You take it, maybe you can...
Yeah...
Maybe you can try to target a
false
pawn.
Alarm. Okay, but the king is gonna get up. We need some drama.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
interesting. I guess you can take that pawn whenever you want, but the king gets active in response. It's something we were talking about earlier about, you know, sometimes it's worth it to give up a pawn when you can have some sort of activity. And here, everything's active. That pawn is gonna fall, and you kind of have to figure out what to do.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a flashback of team chess battle with Danny Range and who was he? John Bartholomew, trying to play a similar endgame and going into from winning to losing. I don't know if anyone from the chat remembers that moment, but it seems like white is gonna try to push for a win here.
No, it definitely seems that white will push for a win, but
oh,
you also have the passed pawn that you have to worry about. That's true. So it made sense. I guess there was something kind of concrete, but it did make
Look
sense
at the
to kind of
evil
allow
bar.
for that. I think it's yeah, I think there was some sort of concrete tactic, but I think black's plan does make sense to push, but that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. If you don't think you have a win, sometimes you don't go for it.
Black is preparing everything to push the pawn and trying to make the advantage of the fact that while black bishop is doing 2 things at the same time, white's bishop is actually passive because of its own pawn on d4 that doesn't help stopping the pawn, and that's not good.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a reason you can't just take the... I guess he's defending because he doesn't see the reason you can't just take.
Well,
but you just bring
play
your rook
rook-
down?
Yeah. And the rook f4 and king c7. Watch out!
There's so many threats and takes. And then we see the
Oh my
intermediate
god!
check, and it's over. That was a really nice game there, and Slooh didn't even need that extra point, but they took it. So that means they're handedly taking home the match, and we're gonna look at him checking, getting really excited seeing that his team won there. And what a great start for Slooh. This was a tough match.
Yeah, Jules, wow. Congratulations to St. Louis for winning the match. 9.5 to 6.5 against Texas, one of the strongest teams on the radar. And you see, Jules, that Queen's Gambit declined with g5. You might be interested into looking at that in more detail. It worked out.
Oh, definitely. And Robby Kevlishvili did decently this match. They all did very, very well, but it was Slooh who was able to take it home. And we're actually going to have an interview coming up with Robby Kevlishvili shortly. So if you have any questions for him, ask away in chat.
Oh yeah, I do have a question for him.
Many, many, many questions. So we will be here shortly. Stay with us, stay tuned, lots of fun stuff coming. And again, huge congratulations to Slooh for winning the match.
It's crazy. Oh my god. I don't feel it yet because there's so much spice already in my mouth. Turn the thermostat up. Please, no milk. No milk. No fucking milk, James. I'm gonna go to the ambulance.
What's up, everyone? Chess is hard as it is, but we're about to make it even harder by playing chili chess. For every type of piece we capture, we are gonna eat a chip with some hot sauce on it, starting with the pawns, knights, bishops, and rooks, a queen, and then the loser of the game is gonna eat this drenched chip over here.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
And here we go.
Oh man, we battled a lot in the. It's like you're letting me take it, bro. We get
Instant, you must be hungry, bro.
I'm too scared to capture.
Take it, bro.
No, because then we have to eat the.
You know what? Now you gotta eat the freaking chip.
All so big. Oh.
Yes.
Oh
Right.
man. Oh. It feels like I'm inhaling a barbecue. I hate that one.
That's pretty good.
God. That is the official.
Your turn, buddy. Beautiful.
That one's weird, man. It's like citrusy, but like
correct.
Kind of tastes like.
You know what? That's exactly what it would taste like.
I'm rolling up mine. We got the Endgame with the chips. This is
Hey,
torture.
which one do I want? Okay. None of you back.
I like how silent psychological battle. Nobody's drank milk yet.
Right.
We're like, okay. All right. Word looks different when you high on spice.
Oh man, I'm hitting different.
Oh,
Ship's kind of hot to be chilling like that. It's definitely getting hot in this room, guys. You didn't turn the thermostat up?
Oh, I took a pawn, mister.
Oh, you took a pawn. You did. Damn, bro, you catching everything.
Ah! Oh!
Let's check.
Oh my God, I lost on time. No!
Oh, it's not.
Oh my God.
You know. Okay, so the problem is, I don't feel it yet because there's so much spice already in my mouth. So it's probably gonna be like how Magnus said, it creeps up on you. Yep, now it's starting to creep up. I feel it. I feel it.
Oh man.
I'm gonna go to the ambulance. I'm gonna call them people right now.
On my hand.
Yes, I can hear you. The screen is a bit blurry, but...
No fucking milk, James. So two brothers, we in a ditch somewhere.
Yep.
Explosions all around.
No milk. We ask them, I'm like, you need a Band-Aid? No, I need no milk. No milk. I'm gonna feel that for a few days, 2 hours.
Bro.
I did, bro. I did. But your brain don't work right with all the spices and stuff.
No, man. Bro, I can't feel my fingers. Same time next week?
Sure. It's a date.
Hello, welcome everybody back to CCL. We are joined with our special guest, Grandmaster Robby Kevlishvili. First of all, congratulations on Slooh's win. That's a great way to start the season. I am wondering, are you hoping for a comeback and taking home the title this year?
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me on. Yeah, thanks. It was a difficult match, but we managed to prevail after a very bad start and some very shaky technique. But yeah, definitely the only goal is to win. We won it not the last season, but the 3 seasons before, and we have a very strong team, even stronger than last season. So it's definitely the goal to win. Everything else will be not good enough.
And Robby, what a beautiful endgame technique. You almost got there, your grandmaster opponent, with that rook and the bishop. I wonder, did you have any flashback of when I was training and testing your knight and bishop technique?
Yes, I did have flashbacks of that. But I somehow, in that rook and bishop endgame, I had a very good feeling that he will manage to get a losing position, but still reach move 50. But you know, and it happened to be like right before I got the mate. So I think it was just the chess gods punishing me for playing such a bad game. Maybe I should do more training with you, Dina.
Why not?
Always helps. So you were talking about your team being stronger this year. We saw that you have Gajic this year. So how is it having a teammate who is playing against his former team? Did you have any words of encouragement or advice with that?
No, we're all strong players, professionals. So I just asked him if he wanted to play. I would have understood if he didn't want to, but we just as a team agreed that he should play, because also last match he scored 4 out of 4. Would make sense to keep our best performing player on the team, you know.
And how does it feel in general beating an opponent which is like historically the most strongest of, like, the biggest rival that you would have here?
Yeah, UTRGV is of course a very strong team, and I think the last like 2 or 3 seasons we actually lost to them in the regular season. But yeah, as I said, our team is just very good. So I had from the beginning I had no doubt that we wouldn't win. Even when we started the match off down 3-1, I had full faith, hoping that I would play better myself, but also that our team would be strong enough to prevail.
Yeah, makes up a lot. It makes a lot of sense. And I'm wondering, when you face Mizzou next time, how are you guys preparing for that? Anything special, or just, you know, knowing that your team is strong and doing the best you can?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the mindset we'll all have. You know, I think that matchup with Mizzou is like in a month or 2 or something. So in the meantime, I think we all have other things to think about. But we'll do our training. You know, we just finished Pan Am, so training has been a bit slow. But we'll pick it up and we'll get consistent, and then you'll see better technique from me and hopefully from the rest of the team as well.
And perhaps one more and the final question from me, Robby. So here you have this interesting time control. You have an online chess with 2-second increments. Does it make you a little bit too comfortable and too relaxed? Because we still see swindles, we still see misclicks and even flagging, although you think 2 seconds is so much, right?
Yeah, definitely. But you know, I've played CCL. I don't even know how many times, maybe like 10 times. So I'm kind of used to this. But yeah, 5+2 is a bit of a strange time control, because 5 minutes in general is already quite a long time. And yeah, with the 2 seconds, you can kind of relax a little bit, but of course, you shouldn't relax too much. But yeah, I think we're all used to it at this point. We're all veterans of the CCL, I should say.
Well, Robby, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
And good luck in the next matches.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of matches to look at next week. Some very exciting stuff. We're going to see Slooh versus SRM. We're going to see Athens versus Mizzou. So those are going to be some very exciting matchups. SRM had a great season last year. Slooh obviously doing amazingly. So I'm excited for that. Make sure to stick with us next week. And thank you again to my personal friend and my co-host, Women's Grandmaster Dina Belankaya. Did you have fun today?
I had so much fun. I never had so much fun in my life.
Well, it's an honor for me to be able to commentate with you. I think it's our first time actually commentating, so that was a lot of fun. Stick with us, everyone, and we'll see you next week at CCL.